Hello and welcome to My Baseball History. I'm your host, Dan Wallach. My Baseball History is a long-form interview podcast where each episode I'll talk to someone new who has some sort of association to the game of baseball. No matter who I talk to, we'll talk about how they fell in love with baseball, how their career got started, and how they got to be where they are today. Today's episode is brought to you by Man Cave Pictures. If you aren't already aware of who Man Cave is, you're in for a treat. They're veteran-owned and operated and run by two brothers, Tom and Chris Whitehouse, who take dirty, dusty, scratchy old sports images and bring them to fully colored life. They've been doing this for years and have mastered their technique, making their finished product unlike anyone else's. I'm telling you, the first time you see an accurately colorized photo of someone you've only ever seen in black and white before, it's like you're seeing them for the first time. And Man Cave does it better than anyone. Not only do they colorize the old photos, but they completely digitally restore them first, cleaning up any imperfections in the original. They have over 400 high-resolution images available on their website, either colorized with painstaking historical accuracy, or you can buy the fully repaired and restored images in a beautiful sepia-toned black and white. You've seen many of these images before, but I promise you, you have never seen them like this. The Man Cave team is available for commission and special project work if you're looking for a specific image to be restored, or if you have a treasured family photo you'd like preserved or brought to life like you've never seen it before. Man Cave's professional clients include the Chicago White Sox, the Oakland Athletics, the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum, Baseball Digest, the National Baseball Hall of Fame, and the Shoeless Joe Jackson Museum, which is set to reopen in June. The Man Cave team has been working with me for months, planning every inch of wall space in the museum and restoring nearly every photo you'll see when you visit. And on top of that, Man Cave is now offering 15% off any order if you use the code MBH15 at checkout when you visit their gallery and store at mancavepictures.com. You can follow them on Twitter at ManCavePhotos and find them on Facebook and Instagram at ManCavePictures so you can see their latest releases, like the photo of Ted Williams posing before a game in 1939 by taking a swing. The original, courtesy of the New England Sports Museum, was badly damaged, but the Man Cave team completely repaired it and brought it back to life in full color. You'll get an idea of how incredible their work is when you check out their website and social media posts, but seeing these photos printed out and blown up, matted and framed in person, it's going to give you goosebumps. So head to mancavepictures.com and enter the code MBH15 at checkout for 15% off your order, no matter what size. That's MBH for My Baseball History and the number 15 for 15% off your next order. On today's episode, I spoke with Wade Boggs Super Collector Richard Davis. Richard is a certified physician's assistant from Joliet, Illinois. He's a Cubs fan, a Star Wars nerd, a husband, and a father to 4 great kids. But the reason we sat down together is because he has one of the most comprehensive Wade Boggs collections in the world. We all had a favorite player growing up, and most of us had some kind of collection at some point too, whether it was baseball cards or something else. Well, Richard shows us what it's like when you never stop collecting. His entire basement, which he affectionately calls the Boggs Tavern, is covered wall-to-wall, floor-to-ceiling in Wade Boggs memorabilia. He's got it all: cards, photos, newspapers, magazine covers, old programs, game-worn jerseys and game-used bats. He has the products Wade endorsed throughout his career and in retirement. And he's got lots of other fun things that we'll talk about in this interview. Now, this isn't just some guy with a bunch of stuff in his basement. Richard's collection has gotten him some pretty serious notoriety and has actually won awards, including the 2020 Man Cave of the Year award from the official Man Cave site. They have over 9,000 members with insane collections of all kinds. Richard was the 12th winner of their coveted award, which they've given out every year since 2009. He says that his Boggs Tavern is the best bar for bourbon, bogs, and baseball, and having visited the tavern myself, I can't say I disagree. This is a really fun episode because we've all seen collections like Richard's being profiled online before, but rarely do we have a chance to actually hear the collector talk about their collection. In this episode, we cover lots of ground. Richard tells us why a kid from the Chicago suburbs who rooted for the Cubs started collecting Wade Boggs memorabilia in the first place. We find out what it takes to not only build a collection of this caliber, but to maintain it. We learn what the most obscure piece of memorabilia Richard has in his collection, and we hear the story of Richard's favorite Twitter notification he ever received. With all of that information and much, much more coming at you, it may be helpful to follow along with the episode's liner notes on our podcast's brand new website. You'll still be able to enjoy the interview without the extra help, but sometimes when I'm listening to things like this, I like to really go in depth. So I've provided some photos and links to give you a better understanding of the things Richard and I are discussing. I also posted lots of pictures of Richard's collection, including a lot of the individual pieces we mentioned, so you're definitely going to want to check those out. Those liner notes can be found on the My Baseball History website, which is online at www.shoelesspodcast.com. If you want to follow along, head to the website where you'll see the Richard Davis episode listed first on the main page under Latest Episodes. Click on that and you'll be ready to follow along. We've even embedded a player right into the page so you don't need to have multiple windows open while you listen or fumble around with multiple devices. If you want to catch up on any of our previous episodes, you can click on the Season 1 or Season 2 tabs at the top of our website and see a full list of everything we have to offer to date. Everything in the liner notes goes in chronological order of how we talked about them in the interview, so you should easily be able to keep your place as you listen. After the interview, I'll explain how you can answer a trivia question on Twitter to win a prize, so stick around until the end of the episode for that. But now, here's my interview with Wade Boggs Super Collector, Richard Davis. So I normally don't start interviews this way, but tell me about Christmas Day on 1985.
Yeah. I remember getting a gift. I want to say, I don't think it was, too rich from Santa, because I'm pretty sure I was out of the Santa Claus belief at that time. But it may have been from Santa Claus, whatever. But yeah, I opened it up. It was a box of baseball cards. It was a baseball card starter collector kit. And in the box, there were about, I think, 3 or 4 unopened wax packs, one of them being an 83 Donruss. And I opened it up, and Boggs' rookie card was right there on top. Now, at the time, I kind of knew who he was, didn't really know all much about him. I played third base Little League, so I knew him, George Brett, Mike Schmidt, with the big 3 third basemen. But at the time, I was 10 years old, and the Beckett magazine had this card priced at $10. And I'm thinking, man, I got a $10 card in my hand. This is the most expensive thing, baseball card that I own. And it was like something just clicked. I'm like, I just started following the guy,
Yeah.
I'd follow his box scores in the Sun Times every morning, and I was blown away by his numbers. 3 for 4, 4 for 5, 2 for 3 with 3 walks. This guy was unreal, you know.
Right.
So yeah, that was the genesis of my Boggs obsession.
Cool. So this was in the 80s before the internet and even before satellite TV. So it's not like you were actually able to watch him play every night or keep up with his stats in real time. So how did you follow his career while you were in Chicago and he was playing for a team that wasn't in Chicago? Was it just the box scores?
Just the box scores for the longest time. And then, of course, when ESPN became huge, you get to watch some of the highlights. Obviously, in '86, the following year, when the Red Sox made it to the World Series, I actually got for the first time to see Wade play for real on TV. We all know what happened in '86. I cried there right with him when he was down there in the dugout crying, Yeah. So basically, it was just mostly box scores in the the newspapers, and occasionally when the Red Sox would be in a postseason game and it'd be on TV.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you were growing up, your dad would take you to White Sox games, even though you're a Cubs fan. So you could see Wade play in person when he came to town. Where would you sit during those games?
Always third base side. Oh yeah, down there, a couple rows behind dugout. Yep.
When you look at box scores, he's a great hitter, but what was it like to watch him play defense?
He was great. I mean, I know there was guys out there saying he wasn't that great of a third baseman, but he looked good to me. So yeah, I was sitting there watching him. I mean, I literally 30 yards from him. That was amazing. He was very skillful.
Yeah.
And he did finally win a couple Gold Gloves, 94, 95 with the Yankees, but he was a solid third baseman.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
So when you were in high school, you started accumulating Wade Boggs cards because of your friend at Mark's Baseball Cards and Comic Books. How did that relationship blossom?
Well, I mean, Mark and I, we weren't friends. We just, he knew me by name, and he's like, oh, yeah, you're the Wade Boggs guy, So every time I'd go in there, hey, Mark, you got any new Wade Boggs cards? No, not this week, But then after a while, he'd start pulling stuff from, if his family bought a collection from somebody, he'd go through it, and if he saw Boggs, he'd pull them off to the side for me.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So what was the first Wade Boggs piece that you actively acquired that was not a card?
So you're talking about game used or something?
Just anything, whether it was a photo or a jersey or anything that you weren't just going into a card shop and getting a card. Like, it could be a magazine. It could be...
I was just thinking about it. It was probably like a Beckett magazine that, he's been on 2 covers of Beckett, and I'm sure it was probably one of those.
And so were you buying Beckett anyways because you wanted to keep up with the value of your collection, or did you specifically buy those copies because Wade was on the cover and you're like...
Specifically bought them just for him. I mean, I would go to the card shop and I'd thumb through the Beckett magazines, but I never bought... Unless he was either on the inside cover, obviously he was on the cover.
Yeah.
If he was anywhere in the magazine, I bought it.
Yeah. Yep. Was there a moment when you had to take a step back to realize, like, this is getting to be a little bit more than just an average collection, and had to ask yourself, okay, do I scale it back or do I just go all in?
Man, I went all in from day one.
You knew right from the start, this was going to get out of hand? I
knew that I had this itch, when a collector, they know they got that itch, and it's never satisfied.
Yeah.
I look around here and I see all this stuff, and it's like, I can still go for some more.
Yeah, there's a couple spots on the ceiling.
Exactly. Yeah. And there's always pieces out there that's like, I don't have a Yankees game used jersey. I'd love to have one.
Yeah.
So if one ever comes across my way and I can afford it, I'd probably go after it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And once something's up, is it up forever, or do you replace things?
Yeah, so I don't rotate. I just... Matter of fact, I'll show you later, but behind that door right there is a closet of like 6 or 7 more boxes just full of Boggs stuff that is just sitting there, and it's just like, I just want to get it all out.
Yeah.
So, I'll be down here just, doing whatever and being bored. I'm like, I can stick something right there. I'll go in the closet, pull out something, stick it there, and
What is that hole sized?
Yeah, right. Exactly. I know I've got something in there that can fit that space,
Yeah, that's so cool. It's overwhelming makes it seem negative, but it is incredible to be in this room and just see. I mean, this is more than fandom. This is dedication. Yeah. You don't become a fan of somebody and like accidentally end up with this much stuff of theirs.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a decades-long pursuit now. What has that journey been like?
Well, actually, it's officially been like 35 years, right? Yeah.
Yes.
So, what's it like? I'm starting to love the attention that it's getting. Because you collect things for personal interest. But then also it's like you do like when people are like, they admire what you have. And even the ones, even my family members and friends are like, dude, this is a little bit too much. I kind of like that. Like, I know it's a bit too much. I'm a little odd, but that's all right.
Right.
I'm a guy that can still hold down a job, take good care of my kids and wife and stuff. So, but this is what I like to do by myself.
There are definitely worse things that you could be addicted to.
Got that right.
So when people learn about someone who has a collection like yours, especially when a story or a tweet or something like that goes viral on social media, you become the guy for that subject. So anytime someone sees something related to that subject, they message you about it. How often do you get tips on stuff from people who you've never met simply because they know, like, you're the Wade Boggs guy?
Yeah, weekly.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. At least 2 or 3 times a week I'll get a message on either Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. They'll post something from eBay, and chances are I've already got it on my watch list.
Right.
But I love it. I mean, I love that these guys, some women are out there, hey, you got this, and I've had some guys show me stuff that I've never had, and they're like, you know what? I've had this. It's been sitting in a drawer for X amount of years. It needs to be in your place. And they'll send it to me. Yeah. And I'll even offer to buy it. And they're like, no, I'll just send it to you. I'm like, really? I can at least pay you the shipping? No. You can have it.
That's awesome.
So it is pretty cool. Matter of fact, one of my favorite pieces is I'll show you later. It's a drawing. A guy contacted me through Twitter. He's like, I drew this picture of Wade Boggs when I was like 12. He showed me a picture of it. He goes, do you want it? I'm like, hell yeah, I'll take it. It's so cool. I got a drawing of some guy who drew it as a 12-year-old.
That's awesome.
Now it's in my collection.
Yeah. And those are the things that the average person doesn't even know is out there, and you've got it. Like, what are some other pieces in your collection that are along those lines where it's like, this is more than just a thing you can find on eBay?
There's quite a few things. That batting tee up there, I've not seen too many of those. Are that Franklin Future Champs?
Yeah.
And then I got 3 of them from a different company over there.
Yep.
Those are very hard to find, and I befriended one of Wade's family members. She has told me that Wade's wife has even said, if there's anything a Wade that Wade doesn't have, Rich has probably got it.
Yeah.
And it's probably true. I don't know. It might be true, but because I've got some stuff. You're asking me for specifics. Well, I'm drawing a blank.
That's
right
all
now,
right.
But
It'll come to mind. Does it ever mess with you, though? Like, people know you as the Wade Boggs guy, but you're a real person. Like, you have your own name. You have a family. You've got a career. You've got friends. Some find this hard to believe, but I'm sure you even have other interests. I know you've got a Star Wars collection, Jean-Claude Van Damme. Like, how do you maintain your identity as Rich Davis, the human being, and not just be the Wade Boggs guy.
Yeah, right. Well, when I'm at work, I'm rich. I'm the guy that was dedicated to learning and practicing medicine. So that's me. But when I'm away from the job and when I'm not on daily duty or being a husband to my wife, and it's just me downtime, this is I turned into the Rich Davis, the Wade Boggs guy. So, but when it's time for action, when I'm at work, I'm that guy. I'm the physician assistant who's taking care of people, and then when I'm just by myself, I'm down here and I'm just looking around, going, "Yeah, this is a pretty cool collection."
Yeah. So there are perks to being the Wade Boggs guy, though, especially when it comes to collecting. When people know that you're the guy, like we said, they reach out to you directly and make things available to you that otherwise wouldn't be available to somebody else. So you've gained access to people's private collections and gotten some pieces that were never publicly available. What are some of your favorite stories of those interactions? Recently, you bought photographs from a photographer's personal collection, so like stuff like that.
Yeah, so those are one of my favorite things. I've picked up from this gentleman, Roger Woods, from his own personal collection. He was a sports photographer back in the 80s and 90s. I think I've picked up about 200 photos from his collection. Wow. I've also gotten slides and negatives from another, it's an eBay guy. I don't know how he acquired his stuff, but I don't know if he dealt with the Red Sox back in the day, but he had a stockpile of slides and negatives of Wade Boggs pictures, and so he sold those to me. I befriended a sports management company from Tampa. His name is Scott Monet, and he's the CEO of Celebs Direct. And I bought something of his off of eBay years ago. I think it was the Boston cleats with the 26 on the tongue.
Yeah.
Which I lost a bidding battle years prior to that on these shoes, and then I finally acquired it. And Scott reached out to me. He goes, want to introduce myself. My name's Scott, I'm CEO of this company, and Wade's one of my clients. And over the years, Scott has, I've bought bats from Scott, jerseys. That one right there behind you from the '99 season there, signed by Wade Too Rich, my biggest fan. That was the second thing I acquired from Scott. So yeah, I've made some friendships with guys in the business who have who know Wade personally, and I've been able to acquire some of those things. Those Red Sox shower shoes, those also came through Scott's company. So
yeah.
And then the creme de la creme of experiences was when I showed you the Boston jersey. And Scott set it up where Wade called me on the phone. And, we talked. It was brief, 90 seconds tops. But just talking to, with Mr. Boggs on the phone as he's signing this jersey for me was it was unreal.
Yeah. Those are the relationships that only come from years of searching and hard work. And, I mean, it seems silly to somebody who isn't into collecting that collecting is hard work.
Yeah.
Like I said, you don't just fall into a collection like this. I mean, this is decades of persistence. Those connections and those relationships are really cool to have.
Yes, they are. Oh yeah.
Baseball is a sport with a rich history relating to numbers, so let's talk some numbers. Do you have any idea how many total pieces you have in your collection?
None. Seriously, I don't. I mean, it probably wouldn't be too hard for me to find out because I do. Every piece is on my Facebook page. John and I have a Facebook page, so I know that I have 4 volumes of photos on this page, and each volume would hold 1,000 pictures.
Okay.
So I got at least over 4,000 pieces.
Yeah. Well, let's try with cards then.
Sure.
So how many cards do you have, both total and unique?
Yeah, I don't know exact numbers. Now, my buddy John, he knows down to the number because he's got a card catalog program on his computer that he actually developed himself. So he knows. I think he's at 5,300 individual cards. Me personally, I'll throw a ballpark figure out there, maybe about 4,000. He edges me out on those short print cards and autograph cards.
Right, yeah.
But I would say bulk-wise, card number, about 15,000.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, but I've also met Boggs collectors that have more than that. I know some guy, he claims they have over 100,000 Boggs cards. Maybe true, maybe not.
That seems like a lot.
I don't know. It could be true. I don't know.
It could be true.
It could be true.
That seems like a lot. Because you have, you just guessed 15,000, and that's a lot.
Yeah.
Imagine 8 times that.
Yeah.
It's a lot of cards.
It is a lot of cards.
So you're trying to amass 1,000 1983 Topps rookie cards. Why specifically that number, and why that card?
Sure. So probably why that card, because of his 3 rookie cards, that is the one that's worth the most. I don't care about worth, but I'm actually more inclined towards the 83 Donruss, obviously for sentimental reasons.
Yeah.
But the reason why I focus so much on the 83 Topps is because Topps is more popular of the 3 at the time. And then the fact that I swear, growing up, I read an article somewhere where Boggs was interviewed, and he had mentioned that he had owned 1,000 of his own rookie cards.
Yeah.
I'm like, man, 1,000 of his own rookie card? So I stored that, information in the back of my brain for years, and then when I got to like my 100th, I'm like, I'm only 900 more away from 1,000, So now currently I'm stuck at 590. So yeah, I'd love to get to 1,000, and then maybe just tweet Mr. Boggs and say, "Hey, I matched you."
Yeah.
I don't even know if the story is true, and something in my mind makes me think I read this somewhere. I remember tweeting Wade about, "Hey, do you still own 1,000 your own rookie card?" He never got back to me, but
I tried looking for that article and couldn't find it.
Yeah,
maybe when we put this out, somebody with a photographic memory could be like, "Yeah, I remember reading that too."
Or I'm just making it up. I don't know.
That's very possible, also. But now that you're a little bit closer to Wade, maybe you can try asking that question again, and he will reach out.
Yeah.
Is that your favorite card of his?
No, my favorite card of his is the 84 Topps.
Okay.
I absolutely love that card. It's the design and then the pose. There's just something about that card for me. I've got over 800 of that card, which I wish I could say is the most of anybody that I know, but John, he's got me beat at 1,000. But that's right.
Is that the card that you have the most of?
No. I do have 1,000 of his 87 Topps All-Star card.
Okay.
And it's not even my favorite card. It's just that on eBay one day, the guy was selling 800 of them for like $10. I'm like, I can't pass that up.
You got it.
So I got 1,000 of those just sitting in a box in the closet. Whatever.
Are you going to do something special when you get your 1,000th copy of the 83 Topps? Are you trying to get like a PSA 10? Are you trying to have him sign it? Or
No.
You're going to burn all 1,000 of them?
It's going to sound so corny, man, but I'm just going to put it out there because I don't care. So yeah, when I get to 1,000, I got this vision in my head where I'm gonna lay them all out on the ground, whatever,
Yes.
and I'm gonna have like a Flavor Flav kind of like necklace with them all lined up on the necklace, and I want these glasses that are the 83 Topps over my eyes. I'm doing like some kind of, I don't know. It's just corny. It's corny as hell, but and then be like, this is what 1,000 Wade Boggs rookie cards look like. Whatever.
Do you have a complete run of a card that's like limited to 25 or 50 or something where you have every single card in the numbered set?
Yes, you were just looking at it earlier, but those cards on top of that bat over there, I got the whole run. It's so hard to stay up on all these runs, honestly, I probably do have runs of a complete run of something, but I wouldn't even know it because I get them in the mail.
Right.
I look at them, it's cool, take a picture of it, put it on social media, and then it goes in a box.
Right. So what are your thoughts on card companies and the hobby in general? Like, have they saturated the market where they're releasing over 200 different new cards every single year for an individual player who hasn't even stepped on a major league field since the last millennium? Or is that part of the fun that collecting is never really something that is over?
It's part of the fun. I could see somebody make an argument that it's just too much. I mean, like you mentioned, Wade hasn't been on a field in 21 years. Yet he's got more cards now post-retirement than he had during his playing days.
Way more.
Yeah, way more.
Yeah.
But he's a Hall of Famer, and he's a historical figure within the game. I have no problem with coming out every year with new stuff. And as a collector, I like the hunt to get it. But if you got cards coming out of, Devin White was a good player, but if Devin White's got some new cards coming out, who's going to collect Devin White?
Somebody.
Yeah, I know somebody does. Actually, I'm thinking of a buddy right now.
Yeah, there you go. See?
My buddy John from Toronto, he'd probably be slapping me right now. Baby. I love Devin White, so...
You're like, show me your basement, John.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah. I find it odd though. Sometimes my son and I, we love to watch card breaks on TV, and they'll open up a pack of Topps triple threat or whatever. There'll be a base Ted Williams card, and it's like, what's the point? It's weird.
Yeah.
I kind of like I'm both. I teeter. Sometimes I think it's way too much. Like my buddy John and I will talk the 2020s just came out, and he's already told me how many new versions Boggs has. I'm like, God, I'm still trying to catch up on 2017,
Right. I guess that's my question. Is it for kids who are just getting into collecting, you want them to have a Ted Williams card without having to go back and buy the 1941 play ball for $4,000? Yeah. Is it better to have Topps come out with one new Wade Boggs card that they print 10,000 times, or 100 new cards that they print 100 times each?
I'm going to go with 100 times each because there's fun in trying to collect the low numbers, the out of 5s, out of 10s, out of 25s. It's like, ooh, there's only 25 of this card, and I got one of them.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Just the thought went about, I'm not putting down the fact that these card companies are putting out a Ted Williams card 2020 because when I talk to my son about baseball, he loves the history of the game. And he amazes me how much he knows. I think it's important for him, especially because he plays baseball. I want him to know, Hank Aaron,
For sure.
Ted Williams, Honus Wagner, Walter Johnson. I want him to know these guys. So when these card companies put out cards of these older players and they put some kind of tidbit on the back, he memorizes that. Like, so he knows that, Ted Williams' very last plate appearance was a home run. He knows that Ted Williams was the last guy to hit over 400. He hit 406. I love seeing that in him. So yeah, when he gets a card that's Hank Aaron, to him that's awesome.
Right. As it should be.
Yeah. And so I'm not going to knock it, but
right.
But sometimes it does seem like it's just way too much.
All right, back to your collection. How many jerseys do you have?
Game used jerseys?
Yeah.
3. And then I've got a jersey home and away from each team he's played. So, but not game used. It's just, store bought, whatever.
Yeah.
eBay bought some, 3, 4, maybe a dozen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite one?
Yeah, it's got to be the 85 home Red Sox jersey.
Yeah.
I mean, 85, it was in my opinion, his best year. I mean, 240 hits.
Crazy.
366.
Crazy.
I mean, just gaudy numbers.
Yeah.
Gaudy. So that's my favorite.
When you think of it in those terms, Ty Cobb's lifetime average was better than that.
I know, right?
Insane. How can somebody be that good? It's crazy.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Unreal. Yeah. If I could get in with Time Machine, I thought about this. Like, if there's one era of baseball I would love to travel back to, would be Ty Cobb's era.
Yeah.
And just sit down and watch one game of him. Yeah, it'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, unreal.
Do you ever think how lucky you are that Wade Boggs played in the 80s and 90s before alternate jerseys were really a thing? Because if you were trying to go after one jersey of everything he wore for his career and he played today, you'd be looking at 20, 30 jerseys.
True.
I mean,
I'd still
these
go
guys
after
were,
him.
Yeah, I know. That's my point.
But I know.
Aren't you glad that you don't have to?
Yes. From a financial aspect.
And space.
And space,
You don't have room for 24 more jerseys.
I don't. No, you're right. Well, or unless I just go to a store that's going out of sale and just get a rotating shirt thing, whatever.
See, now you're thinking smart.
I'm always thinking.
There it is. All right, so we need to get you a mechanical store display. All right. Well, now we got something else to search for on eBay tonight.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
How many baseballs do you have? Like, I know you've got a lot of autograph stuff. Do you also have game used balls or balls that are like his home run ball or a hit number or something like that?
So I have, my favorite game used ball it's in that cabinet when you came down the stairs. It's his career number 2,988 hit. So just 12 away from the magic number. That's my ultimate favorite.
It's a significant number away from 3,000.
Absolutely.
Cool. Yeah.
That's my favorite piece. Total, I just counted the other night. I have 29 balls with his autograph. The majority of them are not game used. I think I have maybe 3 or 4 that came from a game. I do have a ball. I drove out to Boston back in 2016, May 26th, for his jersey retirement ceremony. Yeah. So I bought a ball that was used during that game. I don't know why I didn't bring it with me to the National. I guess I was drawing a blank or something like that because I was thinking, where am I going to bring to have him sign? I got so much stuff already.
Yeah.
But maybe next year I'll bring that ball. I want him to sign it, to Rich, thanks for coming. And then date it May 26th, 2016.
Yeah.
And Wade Boggs.
Cool.
Yeah, so that's my plan.
And what about bats? You posted a picture on social media the other day with a bunch of the blonde bats.
I've got 4 game-used bats and a Cooper's bat that he used for BP, so never really saw game action. And then another 7 or 8, either game-issued or just store model bats.
Yeah.
But about 18 total bats.
So do you know off the top of your head what model he used, what the dimensions were, all that stuff?
Yeah, well, so the majority of his Red Sox days he used the B349 Louisville Slugger, 34-inch long, 33 ounce, I believe.
Was that his model bat, or was he using another player's model bat?
That was his model bat, yeah.
Cool.
The B349.
So they made it specifically for him.
Yep.
Cool.
Yep. And then he would occasionally use a Rawlings black bat, and then he would use an Adirondack bat from time to time, which I would love to have an Adirondack black on blonde bat in my collection.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
They're out there, but they tend to be quite expensive because they didn't use them that much. He used them mostly during his New York Yankees days.
Yeah.
Then when he went down to Tampa, he went back to the blonde Louisville bat. So
was it a little bit lighter later in his career? Probably.
No, I think it was the same dimensions.
Really?
As a matter of fact, this one's right there to your left, just behind you there. That'd be 349.
Cool.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
What is the earliest Wade Boggs piece that you have?
I've got 3 programs from the 1980 Paw Sox that Boggs autographed on the inside.
Cool.
So that's probably the earliest. No, I take that back. If you look to your left there, just in front of the shower shoes, that's a Pawtucket Red Sox pay stub that he autographed. I think it's dated 1980.
Cool.
So yeah, that's really cool.
Is there one specific piece that you don't have that you wish you had? Not even necessarily something that you've seen up for sale at some point or that somebody has in their personal collection somewhere, but maybe you're like, oh, I'd love to have the bat from his 3,000th hit or something more abstract.
I want a fielder's glove. Would
Yeah.
love to have a fielder. Yeah, he didn't use too many throughout his career, and they're very hard to come by. couple years ago, his rookie season first baseman's glove, because he did play first base for a couple games, was up for auction, and I just couldn't pull the trigger. My wife killed me.
Yeah.
And it didn't sell. I was surprised. I think it had an opening bid of $2,000 or something like that, and it didn't sell. I would have, if I had the $2,000, it'd be in this collection right now. So I went to another auction house, I think a year later, and I think it sold for $5,000 or $6,000.
Yeah, wow.
So that's gone.
Yep.
Probably never see that again.
But you never know. I mean,
you never know.
I just recently won an auction this past summer for Joe Jackson ran a liquor store in Greenville, and so he would give out business cards, and there are two known examples of that business card still existing. One of them was the one that was in his wallet when he died. That business card sold a handful of years ago, and when you see something like that sell, you're like, all right, it's in its collection forever now. Like whoever has it is never getting rid of it. And you never know. Sometimes things happen.
That's
and,
true. That's true.
Now it's in my collection.
Yeah, I mean, just thinking of my own collection, none of this stuff is going to go.
Right.
While I'm alive.
Right.
Now, my son knows he's getting it once I pass. And what he does with it after that, I'll never know. Hopefully he'll keep it.
Yeah.
But whatever. If he's got to let it go, there'll be another Boggs collector out there like John.
Yeah.
Probably outside the door of the funeral home. Hey, Colton, what do you want for this? What do you want for that?
What's the crown jewel of your collection?
Your
wife comes in tonight and says, you have to sell everything, but I'll let you keep one piece. What are you keeping?
Oh, my God. I don't know. I think I got to keep that 3-foot bobblehead. I just love that thing, man. If that's what she says, I got to sell everything. You know what? When everything's sold, I'm taking that I'm strapping it into the passenger seat of my car. I'm saying goodbye, and I'm taking off with that thing and driving off into the sunset. Yeah, I guess that would be it.
Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah, because there's only 26 of those in existence.
And that's the only one he's signed.
And it's the only one that he signed.
Right.
That's what Wade told me.
Yeah.
And he's got one himself. So
Yeah.
he was doing like some autograph signings in his house, and I saw that thing in the background of his game room or whatever. I'm like, that's so cool.
Yeah.
And I tracked one of those down on eBay and finally got it.
Cool.
Oh yeah, love that piece. Love that piece.
So since it's in your house, you have to actively invite people over to come see the museum or the tavern. However you.
Yeah.
It's not like this stuff is in a museum where people can just show up and look at it if they want to. How often are you able to physically share this collection with people?
Not as often as I'd like. Honestly, I would love to be able to show it off and talk about it with people. I mean, my immediate neighbors have been down there. They know all about it. My buddy next door, also named John, he loves coming down there. He brought his wife down here one time, and she just stopped at the bottom of the stairs and just went, "Oh my God!"
You two have fun.
Right.
I'll be next door.
She's like, yeah, okay, I'm gonna get out of here. I do have a buddy. I told you my buddy John. He's been out here twice now for 2 nationals, and he stopped by here. So he's seen the place. A couple other my buddies, Nathan and Robert, who are also big Boggs collectors. They got down here this past season from the national, so they got a chance to take a tour. And then I had a buddy, David, whose last name is Boggs. We met up for the first time out in Boston in 2016 for Boggs' jersey retirement ceremony.
Yeah.
He lives in San Diego, but he grew up around here, and he had business up at Northwestern. So he contacted me about a week before. He said, "Hey, I'm going to be in the area. I've got some time to kill before I got to be at the work site. Can I stop by?" I'm like, "Yeah, come by, man."
Yeah.
You know? So he checked it out. He stayed for about an hour, and just watching him just kind of walk through and look. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, absolutely.
You got to share it.
Part of the fun is seeing other people's reaction to it and hearing what things pique their interest. I'm a collector too, and seeing what questions people have about certain things and the things that you might think are the interesting pieces because you know what everything is. Somebody who doesn't have the crazy knowledge that you do might not see like, okay, this 1983 game used piece. They're just like, oh, it's an old dirty bat.
Right.
What about this picture? And you're like,
Yeah.
really? Of all the things you
Right.
care about a picture?
Right.
But like, to me, that's the funny part.
Yep.
And having other people see what you've
Yes.
created
Yes.
is definitely part of the fun.
Yeah. Or the head shaking when they see when they see the shower shoes and they're just like, "Oh my God, really, dude?"
Right. And then they see the other pair of
Yeah,
shower shoes.
yeah,
and
exactly. They're like, "Oh, you got 2 of them?" I've had friends joke like, "Well, you got a pair of his jock straps?" Well, if they're available,
yeah.
why not?
When you meet somebody for the first time, how long does it take for them to learn that this is something that is a part of your life?
I mean, not immediately, but pretty soon they find out because I talk about it quite. I'm like, hi. Especially when baseball comes up, I'll mention Wade's name. But coworkers definitely, when I make new friends, like they'll get on my Facebook page because I post quite frequently.
Yeah.
So they learn pretty quickly that I'm like really in it.
Yeah.
So I'll have friends say, "So when is Wade? Does he got that restraining order against you?" I'm like, "Well, our lawyers are talking right now. We're working it all out." So yeah, they learn pretty immediately.
Yeah. So tell me how Wade Boggs became aware of you and your collection, and what did it feel like to see the Twitter notification on your phone that Wade Boggs was following you?
Yeah. So I joined Twitter, I think, in 2012, and specifically just to follow him. And maybe a year or a little longer of just quite frequently posting pictures of items from my collection and always tagging him.
Mm-hmm.
And then it started off with, I remember like getting that first like from him, like, oh, you liked a picture of mine. I remember like taking a screenshot of it and even putting it on my Facebook. Look who liked my picture. You know? But then it was maybe a year, maybe almost 2 years of being on Twitter. I remember, getting the alert. I was at work. At the time, I worked in emergency medicine, and I was working a pretty busy shift. And I heard my phone chime, and I thought maybe it was just a text from my wife, or maybe just a Twitter alert.
Mm-hmm.
And I was too busy to look down. I wasn't really anticipating anything. I thought maybe it was just somebody liking a picture of mine. And so an hour goes by, and I finally get to sit down, and I turn my phone on, and I look, and I'll just never forget it. It just said, Wade Boggs is now following you on Twitter. And I just remember like, no, there's no way. I'm like, what? I just remember just sitting there like, and I just got that giddiness in I'm like, so I opened it up and I went to his Twitter page, and sure enough, it said Wade Boggs follows you. I'm like, oh, this is so cool.
Or were you just like, now I can DM you?
Yeah. Actually, I didn't realize that once he follows you, you could actually DM. And then somebody, I forget how I learned that, but so I do DM him. I try not to be like,
Yeah. You don't
very,
want the restraining order.
Yeah,
but,
exactly. Very sparingly. Although, just it's ironic that just yesterday, I actually a guy presented to me a picture of a bat supposedly used during the '89 season.
Mm-hmm.
And he asked me if I had any interest in it. I'm like, send me some more pictures of it and just kind of give me the provenance of the piece. How did you come to acquire it? And he told me he won it at auction, and he said it was an alternate bat that Wade used during the '89 All-Star game. And the model it was definitely Wade's bat, but it was his earlier Louisville Slugger model, not his B349. And I know that he used the B349 in the game because that's the way he used the home run off of Ruschel when he went back-to-back with Bo Jackson. Mm-hmm. So up to that point, the story of an alternate bat kind of made sense. So he didn't know this, but I reached out to Wade and sent pictures to Wade. And Mr. Boggs responded to me almost like within 3 minutes. He goes, yeah, it's my bat, but those ball marks, I never hit on that side of the bat.
Whoa.
So Wade's like, yeah, it's my bat. That's my autograph. I knew it was his autograph, but he's like, yeah, it's my bat, but I did not use that in the '89 All-Star game. He goes in, I could tell it. So on the front part of the bat, which he always had facing him, was the Louisville Slugger emblem.
Right.
And then the backside on this particular bat actually had Louisville in big letters. And he knew just from the area of the sweep spot, there was multiple ball marks on the Louisville big name there. He goes, I would have never hit a ball on that Louisville marker. He's like, so I don't think I actually used that bat. So based on that, I'm not buying the bat.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah. So it's really cool.
That's detective work.
Right?
Yeah.
But just the fact that he takes time to respond to me, and boy, he did it so quickly too. I was like, that's pretty cool.
But coming from his perspective, though, you haven't been on a field in 20 years. It must feel great to know that somebody is crazy, but loves you so much that 20 years later, he's still actively looking for things to commemorate your career and has this passion for your career. I mean, that must be cool to him. There were millions of people who cared about him in 1989.
Yeah.
There's not probably that many today.
Yeah.
Has he ever told you, yeah, it means a lot that you're still my fan after all these years, or anything to that extent?
There was a time a couple of summers ago when he came up for a Chicago Sun-Times sports collectible show. Mm-hmm. A buddy of mine named Scott, who was a vendor, got me behind the scenes access to Wade,
Yeah.
And so I had my son with me and my father with me, and we went behind the curtain there and got to talk with Wade for about 20 minutes and his agent. And he was like, hey, he was like one of my biggest, you are my biggest fan, and he signed 2 game used hats for me. So it was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
But he thanked me for being, the first thing was, it was so cool. As he's approaching me, he extends his hand out for a handshake, and we shook hands, and then we did that bro hug. Mm-hmm. I just remember him like bringing me in, and I'm like, oh, I'm getting a hug, Wade. It's like, oh my god, I can't believe this. So yeah, we did the handshake.
Colton, get the camera.
Yeah, exactly. Well, my buddy actually had it on video. Yeah, he was filming the whole thing. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then the next thing he goes is, well, where's your wife? He goes, I really wanted to apologize to her. So he's got a good sense of humor. I'm like, no, she had to work Wade. She couldn't come. He's like, oh. He's like, ah. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's funny.
That is pretty cool.
I played in a baseball tournament in Cooperstown, New York when I was 12 years old, and Wade Boggs happened to be in town that week. And when our team went to the Hall of Fame, I ran into him, and, he was being mobbed by fans. It was 1999 at the time. He said he couldn't sign autographs because he had someplace he needed to be. So I told him that I also played third base and asked if I could just shake his hand. And he said, that I have time for, and shook my hand.
That's awesome.
Something so small, the whole interaction took 7 seconds, but here I am 21 years later, and I still remember it clear as day. What is your favorite interaction that you've had with him?
The very first time I actually met him face to face, and this was in 2010. Matter of fact, this baseball right here, that was hand painted by an artist for me.
Cool.
That's a picture from my iPhone of my very first handshake with Wade. So this was December 2010. And I remember when he came out from behind the curtains there, it was just me and my dad. So I'm 35 in this picture. And I just remember the jitters. Like, he's coming out, I'm like, that's Wade Boggs.
Right.
So when it was my turn to approach the table, and I had 2 items for him to sign. I had my old Kentucky license plate over there that actually has W. Boggs on it. And then I had a jersey for him to sign. And I just remember being so, like, I was stuttering. I felt like so stupid. I'm like, hey, Mr. Boggs, can I take a picture of you? He's like, oh, yeah, take a picture of me. So he just kind of sat there and posed for me. Let me take a picture. And then my dad took a picture of him and I shaking hands. And that's my favorite moment, because it's the first time meeting him. I mean, so I'm from 10 years old to 35 years old. I had 25 years of just collecting this guy and just always wanting to meet him, and now it's finally happening. That's my favorite moment. You never want to meet your favorite, because they could turn out to be pricks.
Yeah.
But he was totally cool. Matter of fact, when I handed the license plate down on the table, he took the time to look at it, and then he recognized that the date of the license plate said December, and it had 12. He goes, look, it's my number. He's like, it was meant to be, or so whatever he said it. He signed it. Yeah, so
cool.
That was really
Yeah,
cool.
because that'd be a real shame to dedicate 25 years of your life and meet him, and he's like, another fan, huh?
Well, friends of mine would say, like, okay, what are you going to do with all this stuff? I'm like, I didn't know. I was like, I just hope he's not.
Right.
And he wasn't. So
Oh, right.
I didn't have to worry about it.
Yeah. Thank God. We talked about this off mic, but has he ever been to the house, or are there plans to get him here to see this collection?
He's never been to the house. There's no plans for him to come and see this collection, but I do hope, in the back of my mind, I'm hoping that it can happen.
If it ever does, is there one piece that you're excited to see his reaction of, or just curious to see how he reacts to a certain thing?
Honestly, no, because I know he's seen everything. He's seen pictures and videos. No, the thrill for me will be just have him sitting here where you and I are at, and that's just
pounding Miller Lights.
Talks to baseball.
I collect things from this band called Alkaline Trio. They're a Chicago band who had a little bit of mainstream success in the early and mid 2000s. They're still a band, and every time something new comes out, I feel like I have to buy everything related to it just to keep my collection intact. And a lot of times I feel like I'm buying more out of obligation at this point than out of sheer love, which is why I got started collecting. Does that happen with you? Does your collection ever feel like a burden?
No, never. No, it's always fun. It's always a joy. It's always... but I do know that at times it could be overwhelming. You hear people say when they're stressed out, they eat. They stress eat. I stress buy.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to lie. My wife knows this. I could have a bad day at work, and on the way home, or as soon as I get home, I'm on eBay and I'm buying something. I get that automatic, just that instant relief satisfaction. Like, that was just getting this made the whole day better.
Yeah. Dopamine's a hell of a drug.
Exactly. There is definitely that dopamine reward system going on there. So never an obligation. It has been at times stress relief, but it's my passion. It's love. I love collecting. Yeah.
I actually have the best Alkaline Trio collection in the world, and there's about 5 other collectors in the world who have something that's anywhere near what I have in my collection. That group of the super collectors all knows each other, and for the most part, we've become friends with each other. We're definitely competitive when it comes to the things that we're searching for, but if something pops up that one of us already has, we'll shoot a message to the other guys and give them the heads up. Do you have that kind of relationship with the other Wade Boggs super collectors? Yeah,
so there's 5 of us. There's myself, my buddy John Reichard, Nathan Fleming, Robert Howell, and James Miles. And James lives down in Florida. John lives in Pennsylvania. Robert, I think he lives up in Michigan. And then Nathan, where do you live? I forget. But yeah, there's 5 of us. We call ourselves the Boggs Trust, and we pretty much text almost daily, you know, about what we got or what's available on eBay, or did you see this bogus Boggs autograph that's being? Can you imagine that somebody would try to put this out there? So we're constantly talking. It's a friendly competition.
But you guys are competitive, though.
Like we're competitive.
When somebody sends you a private message and offers you something, you don't send the other 4 a text message before the deal is done, do you?
I have done that, but most of the time, no, I don't.
Right.
But you know what, though?
It's part of the game.
Right. And if they told me they did the same thing, I would not get mad.
Right.
I don't care.
Yeah. That's part of it.
Yeah, that's part of it. Yeah. And I would not be upset at all. I'm sure. Matter of fact, I know John has gotten offers on some stuff that never got past me. I can't be mad at him. I'm not mad at him.
Yeah.
Because I'm at a place where, I'm satisfied with what I got so far.
Yeah.
I already know I can't have everything.
Mm-hmm.
So I think if you have that mentality that you can't have everything, you're not going to be mad when something gets by you.
Right.
Now, John knows that there is one piece. I'm pretty sure, well, it's got to exist because I've seen a picture of it, but I've never, ever, 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 ever seen it. John knows what it is. He's the only one that knows what it is. Mm-hmm. And if he gets it before me, I will drive out to Pennsylvania. I will knock him over the head with a brick or something.
The Trust will have 20% less members.
Exactly. Yeah, if he gets that before I do, he may not be my friend for a little while. Yeah. Yeah.
There's a very real difference between collecting something and having a collection like yours. Like, I'm sure you've heard people be like, oh my God, I have a huge Beanie Baby collection. I've got like 43 of them. Mm-hmm. Whatever they collect, it doesn't matter. But I think that's why people like Michael Jordan have seemingly so few friends and confidants, because there's almost nobody on the planet who can understand what it's like to be at that level. Is it nice to be able to talk with the other 4 Boggs Super Collectors who actually can relate to what you are doing?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's a close knit of, call each other brothers, and it's fun. We look out for each other. Like if somebody in the group doesn't have something, we want to make sure that they get it.
Right.
Because outside the Boggs Trust, there's some other Boggs Super Collectors that are out there that have gotten some stuff before any of us got, and we're just like, what is this guy?
Right.
We know at least 2 by name. I'm not going to name them. And then there's this mystery eBay guy. We only know his. Well, actually, we don't even know what his eBay name is, because when we see that this collector, this dude must have some deep pockets, because he has put down some money for some high-end Boggs stuff. We don't know who this guy is. We would love to,
murder him. I mean, meet him.
Yeah, right. Yeah, see what he's got.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm lucky that I have a few different collections. I collect vinyl records, specifically for that band Alkaline Trio, but for many other bands too. I collect Shoeless Joe Jackson stuff, obviously. I collect Michael Jordan stuff. I've gone through stretches where sometimes I don't buy a piece for an individual collection for literally a couple years at a time, because I'm just kind of burned out on it, but I have my other collections to fall back on, so I'm always collecting something. Do you ever experience burnout where you just need to step away from things for a while, or do you just have to power through because if you don't buy something, you might not ever see it again?
No, I've never gotten burned out, but there was a period of time where I went almost 3 years where I wasn't really able, because of financial reasons, to keep up with my Boggs collection. It was when I was in graduate school.
Yeah.
So this would have been 2000 through 2003. And Boggs had a lot of stuff come out during those years, because obviously they were anticipating he was going to definitely be in the Hall of Fame, so they kept putting out all these short print and autograph cards. And this is how John has got me beat, because during that time he was buying up all these cards.
He's a handful of years older than you, right?
Yeah, by 2 or 3 years.
Okay.
And but like I said, I was going through graduate school and didn't have extra money to. I knew the stuff was out there, and I was just like, I can't buy this stuff right now, And so, there was like a 3-year period where I fell behind, but I always had the interest. Yeah, I've never gotten burned out, and I do have other collections. My Star Wars collection. Mm-hmm. I'll go on these Sammy Sosa hunts. I do love Sammy Sosa. Me and being, growing up a Cubs fan, I love Sammy. Still love him. I know that a lot of people are out there. He's a cheater or whatever. Maybe, but still, those years that he was with the Cubs, he just made baseball exciting and fun, and I love him for it. So yeah, I'll go on binges with him and get cards and stuff. But yeah, mostly it's my Boggs collection, and then I'll show you later my Star Wars collection.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
What is it like to know that you found somebody who truly loves you because your wife puts up with this?
She's a saint. I'll tell you, she's. Don't worry. It's not like she gives me a lot of crap, because
sure.
almost daily something's coming to the house, and she's just like, another package came. She's like, are we ever gonna be able to retire? Can we ever go on vacation? Because you're always. I'm like, one of these days, baby, we will.
Yeah. Well, we can't go on vacation because who's gonna be here to accept my packages?
Exactly. Right. I ain't gonna lie, dude. I've had some stuff come to the house that I know is arriving, and I'll have my buddy John next door, like, hey, dude, can you intercept?
It's been 38 days in a row. I need her to not know about this.
Right. Well, that's definitely come up. And then, but when we've gone on our few vacations, I'm like, hey, just I'll be expecting a few things over the next week. Can you pick them up for me? But yeah.
I'm sure over the years you've become more than just a Wade Boggs collector, and now you're an expert also. Do you have a favorite Wade Boggs story or statistic or anecdote or trivia question or something like that?
My favorite stat that I always throw out there when people are talking about like unbreakables, 4 seasons in a row of 200 plus hits with 100 plus walks.
Mm-hmm.
It's never going to be done. Lou Gehrig owns the record for how many times that he's done that. He did that 7 times in his career.
But never more than 3 times
But
in a row.
never more than 3 years in a row. But Boggs did it for 4 years in a row. And when you think about that, 200 hits, 100 walks for 4 seasons in a row. I mean, that's 300 plus times on base.
Right.
It's amazing.
Right.
That's probably my go-to stat because people are always like, oh, you don't break bulls, or 56 game hit streak, Joe DiMaggio, 511 wins, Cy Young, 400 batting average, but nobody knows that record. Like, really? 200 hits and 100 walks in 4 seasons in a row? I'm like, yeah.
It's mind-boggling.
Yes. Yeah.
Sorry to use that pun.
And then what's another stat in one season? I think maybe it was 85 seasons. He only popped up like 11 times or something. It's some strange stat.
I know a couple years ago, or within the last couple of years, Joey Votto popped out to the first baseman for the first time in his career.
Yes, I remember.
And it's like, that's insane.
That's nuts. Yeah.
I mean, that just means that every time you come to the plate, you're squaring up the ball.
Mm-hmm.
Just crazy.
Yeah, he's a great hitter.
I've seen some of the interactions that you've had on Twitter with Wade where you ask him about the authenticity of certain items that you're skeptical about online. And each time that you've reached out to him about something that you're wary of, whether it be an autograph that just doesn't look right to you or the giant bobblehead that's on eBay that the seller claims it's comes straight from Wade's collection, every time that's happened, you've been right about your skepticism. So is that a weird feeling, being able to see something online and just knowing straight away, like, nah, that's fake?
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I'm not weird at all. I mean, when you've invested this much time and you've seen, every day it's a constant reminder of what a true, authentic autograph looks like. Yeah, I could pick out about 98% of the time. I could probably pick out a fake one.
And then to be able to reach out to the person and be like, yo, is this you?
Yeah.
No, that's not me. Yeah. Like, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. What would 10-year-old you think if you came back from the future and were like, you're friends with Wade Boggs?
He'd be like, BS. There's no way. I'm not gonna lie. I think about that sometimes.
Yeah.
Like, wow. I mean,
any collection, that is the ultimate goal, right? To meet the person.
Yep.
And you did it.
Yeah. I know some super collectors of other players who still have not yet met the object of their obsession.
Yeah.
I do know of a Reggie Jackson super collector who got to meet Reggie, and he said Reggie's been nothing but receptive. So that's good. So I've not heard any horror stories, but there's some guys that are just, unfortunately, and I hope they get a chance, but I've never really met the object of their obsession. But it's so, I never take for granted the quote unquote relationship that I have with Wade.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to say we're friends with, I'm not friends with Wade,
But he knows who you are and saves things for you, like specifically for you. So he thinks of you.
Yeah, and that's cool.
Takes care of you.
And I do. Yeah, and I don't take that for granted. For 1 second. I'm just unbelievably lucky. Yeah, very lucky. Call it the stars aligned in the correct orientation, whatever. But it's just blind luck, whatever. But it's been cool.
Yeah. In recent years, Wade's drinking ability has become the stuff of legend. He's been immortalized on TV shows like The Simpsons and It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Yep.
So some stories have Wade drinking 64 Miller Lights on a cross-country flight from Boston to LA. Other stories have him drinking 107 beers in a single day. What do you think the real story is? Has he ever told you?
No, and I've never asked. The whole drinking thing.
If you get him in this room, will you ask him?
I probably will.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. I don't want to come off all high and mighty, but I do drink. I'm drinking a bourbon right now. But, when it comes to that, hey, whatever. I don't really think too much about it. Do I think it's cool? Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know what the real story is.
Well, I was talking about this with some friends last week. Just drinking 64 cans of water.
Yeah, I know, right?
Forget the alcohol.
Yeah.
That's so much liquid.
Yeah.
Like, to consume that much on a flight or in a day.
I don't think it can be done. I think what was it? Charlie Day was on, I think Conan O'Brien or whatever, and Charlie said that Wade did admit to him it was in a day he did I think 107. I'm still thinking
still a lot.
No, there's just no way. It can't. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't think so.
It's so much. Again, just to drink that much liquid is insane, and then add the alcohol. It's just a beer, and you're not getting drunk off a beer, but you're getting drunk off 107.
Yep.
Yeah.
He's got to have the liver of Fort Knox or something like that.
Something. Like we mentioned earlier, originally from the Chicagoland area, and you're actually a Cubs fan. So thanks to your Wade Boggs fandom, your second favorite team is the Red Sox. Mm-hmm. With that in mind, what did it feel like to watch Wade Boggs riding around on a horse after winning the 1996 World Series with the Yankees?
Didn't bother me at all because honestly, I'm a Wade Boggs fan first, and then it doesn't matter what jersey he's wearing.
Okay.
I mean, I totally get the Red Sox Yankees hatred for each other because it's. I'm not gonna say we're on the same level, but Cubs and Cardinals, our hatred for each other is just about as vile.
For sure.
So, but I didn't care. just to see him finally win a championship, because I cried right with him when they lost in '86. So to see him on the back of the horse and parading around Yankee Stadium, I thought it was awesome. Yeah. So it didn't bother me, because like I said, I'm a Boggs fan first, regardless of uniform.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Were you able to be actually watching the game when he got his 3,000?
Unfortunately, not. I don't even know where I was at when that went down. Oh, wait, did you say the World Series or his 3,000 hit?
Either. I meant the 3,000th hit.
No, I mean, I was aware, that it was getting close to, because I followed along that season, so I knew he was close. I think I saw the highlights on ESPN or something like that, because I was down in Kentucky in grad school, or undergraduate actually at the time when he did that. But I saved the USA Today newspaper from the next day, and then of course I've acquired all the Tampa Bay Tribunes and St. Petersburg newspapers commemorating the hit. So
and he was the first person to ever have his 3,000th be a home run.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then
that's pretty cool.
And then two of the guys have done it since.
Yeah.
You know who they are? Jeter and A-Rod.
Are they really?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, I did know Jeter. I didn't know that A-Rod did it too.
A-Rod did it too. Yeah. So.
Wild.
I know, right?
Pretty strange company.
Yeah, but he'll always be the answer to a Trivial Pursuit question.
Yeah.
So yeah.
You also collect Star Wars memorabilia and Jean-Claude Van Damme memorabilia. Mm-hmm. So what Jean-Claude Van Damme character do you think Wade Boggs is most like?
Probably Frank Dukes from Bloodsport. Yeah, why not?
That's a good answer.
Yeah, right.
We do this segment called Quick Pitch. Let me know your 5 favorite numbers.
All right.
And I've got a list of questions numbered 1 to 99, and whatever numbers you pick, I ask you those questions.
All
so
right.
What are your 5 favorite numbers?
Well, we'll go with 12 first. This is Yankees and Tampa Bay number, so 12. Obviously, we'll go with 23, because that's Jordan's number, and Ryan Sandberg's number.
No, it's only Michael Jordan.
Hey, Devin Hester wore 23 too,
No, he didn't.
Okay.
It's only Michael Jordan.
It's only Jordan. 34 for Peyton.
That one I'll allow.
Yep. Okay, all right. 54 for Urlacher.
So 12, 23, 34, 54. You didn't pick 26. Do you want to pick 26?
Oh, well, yeah. I can't believe I missed that.
Okay.
Yeah, 26 for sure.
All right. I just want to make sure we caught that. All right. So number 12 goes first. To this point in your collection, what is your proudest achievement?
Wow, so many. Proudest has got to be the fact that now that I've gotten to know Wade, I mean, on a personal basis, he knows my name. I'm assuming that if we were to cross paths at a O'Hare Airport, we'd catch eyes and hey, Rich, So I think we're at that level, I think.
Do you think he'd rip off the luggage tag from his bag and be like, hey, you need this more than I do?
Right. Probably. I'd hope so. I'd say that's my proudest achievement.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Because not too many collectors can say that.
Right.
So,
Absolutely.
So I think
23 was next. Money is no object, and you have access to every single public and private collection in the world. If you could have one baseball artifact, not necessarily Wade Boggs, but baseball, and it could be Wade Boggs.
Sure.
What would you like to have for your own personal collection?
I'll give you a Boggs item, and then I'll give you a non-Boggs item.
Yeah.
So for Boggs, it would probably be, I want one of those Silver Slugger bats.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be so cool.
Yeah.
It's got 5 of them.
Yeah.
What's he need 5 of them for? So I would probably say one of his Silver Slugger bats for
Which year?
I gotta go with the 85.
Yep.
Yeah, because then I'll put it right there with the jersey.
Yep.
Non-Boggs item. Oh God, it's gotta probably be. You know what? I would love a Babe Ruth jersey.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why not?
Red Sox or Yankees?
Oh, Yankees.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
Interesting.
Gotta have Yankees. Yeah.
Well, you're a Red Sox fan.
Yeah, but come on, man.
Hey, I agree.
Yeah, it's got to be number 3, Yankees, Babe.
Yeah. Number 34 is next. What is the dumbest thing that happens at a ballpark that isn't baseball related? So something that's become part of the in-stadium experience but has nothing to do with the game itself.
My mind went to the kiss cam, but that's not baseball. That's NBA and other.
They do it at baseball, though, too.
Do they really?
Yeah. And it is dumb. You are right.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to go with the kiss cam. That's the first thing, like kiss cam. That's just freaking stupid.
Yeah. My gripe with that is always like, how do you know that the two people sitting next to each other aren't brother and sister?
I know, right?
Right? Yeah.
Dude, there was a time where a guy got caught on a kiss cam video at a Cincinnati Reds game or whatever. But little did he know his probation officer was at the same game, and this guy was supposed to be at home on home arrest. So he's on kiss cam with his girl. Yeah. His probation officer's there, gets arrested for being at.
Just another reason to never have kiss cam.
Never have kiss cam, or be like, just want to make sure my probation officer ain't here.
Right.
It's
so funny. Number 54 was next, and that one is, do you prefer day games or night games?
Day games.
Yeah?
But you've been to a night game at Wrigley, though, I'm assuming?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're so much fun. But day game. Yeah, day game. I've been to day games at Wrigley. I've been to day games at Comiskey, and 2 games during the day at Fenway.
Yeah.
I just love day game baseball. Yeah.
And then the last one was number 26. What player not currently in the Hall of Fame do you think deserves to be enshrined the most?
Oh, this is a good question.
Thank you very much. You should hear the other 94.
I mean, I got some ideas of some guys that are in the Hall of Fame that shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame, but that should be in the Hall of Fame. Well, 3 years ago, I would have said Lee Smith. Lee Smith had to be in the Hall of Fame. That would have been my go-to. That's why I'm having a problem now, because Lee was always my go-to, because he should have. I don't know why it took this long. So presently, who's not in yet, it should be. I would make a strong case for Don Mattingly. I know that some guys will say, he just didn't play long enough. But man, those 4, 5, 6 years that he had with the Yankees was just, those seasons were unmatched.
Yeah.
Yeah,
his peak years were
great.
great.
Oh my God, he was awesome. And mid-'80s baseball, it was Boggs Mattingly.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, you had Gwynn, Schmidt, Brett, but man, it was Boggs Mattingly, and they going back and forth. Or Dale Murphy. I think Murph should probably be in it.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, back-to-back MVP seasons, 438 home runs. I mean, I know he didn't hit the 500th home run or the 3,000th hit, but
and the thing about Dale Murphy that
batter.
Boggs had and Mattingly have that Murphy didn't is that mustache.
Yeah.
Right. If he would have had the mustache.
You're right.
We're sitting here talking about Hall of Famer Dale Murphy, and
I know. But it didn't quite work for Mattingly either. But,
no.
But yeah, Mattingly had some of those years. But yeah, I would probably say either Mattingly or Murphy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just wanted to remind you, I am Dan Wallach from the Shoeless Joe Jackson Museum. That would have been a great answer, but well, maybe next interview.
All right, next interview. Yeah, my next super collection.
Is there anything on the horizon that you're excited about, whether it's in your personal life or collection wise, or events that you're planning on going to that you're looking forward to?
I think my wife and I were going to try to take the kids to Walt Disney next year and finally go see Galaxy's Edge. I can't wait. Oh, can't wait. This year, my son's playing in a Cooperstown Little League tournament.
Nice.
So,
is it called Dream Spark still?
I've not heard it called that, but maybe.
How old is he?
He's 12.
Yeah, that's the
12
same
U.
tournament I played in.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've never
heard.
When
I met Wade Boggs.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've not heard it called that. He just like.
I think that's what the complex is called.
Maybe. Yeah. But it's just Cooperstown. So yeah, he's looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to it. Unfortunately, it's the weekend right before the induction, which would have been. I mean, there's no way they would have had both the tournament and the induction. But it's just to miss out Jeter, and to see him go in, and Larry Walker's certainly deserving of being. His numbers were gaudy.
Absolutely. Is there anything that we didn't cover that you would have liked to have gotten to?
Of course, that's going to happen as soon as we turn off the mics. But right now, no.
Or any pieces that you want to let people know that you have. If you want to rub it in John's face that you've got a dozen.
No, John knows. John knows what I've got, and I'm sure he's got a list of things that he wish that I have that he wishes he had, and I have a list of things he has that I wish I had.
Yeah.
So, but no, off the top of my head, I can't think of anything.
Cool. How can people find you on social media and the Boggs collection stuff on social media?
I'm on Twitter at Boggs328, and then John and I have a Twitter account at BoggsFan, and then on Facebook we have Wade Boggs Super Collectors page. And then on Instagram, I'm at 1974 RMD for Richard Michael Davis.
Boggs 328. Why is it 328?
Because that's his lifetime batting average.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And on the Super Collector Twitter page that you guys share together, what do you do there?
Well, actually, John does most of the stuff on that, but he posts a card of the day, and he's going to be running that for years. I think he's finally into the 1996 season with the Yankees cards. Now, for a while, I was doing a picture of the day of Wade, but it does becomes a chore, as he knows, because every week he's photo scanning cards, and then he's got to remember to post every day. So that's what we do on that Twitter page.
Yeah.
And on a Facebook page, he and I, every day, if we get something new in the mail, it goes on that page. So, yeah. And the nice thing about the Facebook page is that we actually have several of Wade's family members and friends who follow us on that page. Like his former nanny who watched his kids when he was playing is one of our followers. So
cool.
And his niece is on our page, and
Yeah, so I bet you get some insight that you never thought you were going to get from those people. And possibly some artifacts.
Yeah. I mean, one of my favorite stories is his niece, Shelby, has told me that on several occasions at a family get-together that if he has told family that if he ever goes missing, I'm probably at Rich Davis's house. So that, I know that sounds macabre, but I kind of take a little pride in that. Not that it would happen, Mr. Boggs.
So,
You're
yeah.
totally safe around me, okay?
But if it does,
But if it does,
suspect number one.
right? I would be suspect number one.
Cool. Thank you so much for inviting me here.
Thanks,
this
Dan.
was,
Absolutely.
This was awesome.
I'm glad you could come down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, now it's time for a segment called What'd You Think, Mom, where we talk to my mom who just listened to the interview with me, and we ask her what she thinks. This is my real, actual mom. Her name is Lori, but I've always just called her Mom. Can you say something to prove that you are my mom?
Well, I've been right there from day one of probably your largest collection, framing your very first MJ jersey, and you weren't even 7 at that point, and then proceeding to help fund and support and maintain the early years for the next decade plus before you just took it over and went, yeah, you don't even know what you're into. So I've been along for every step of that way.
Yep. Thanks, Mom. Pretty much every holiday, every birthday, every graduation, anytime there was a gift-giving opportunity and the question was, well, what do you want? What's on your wish list? What should I tell people you want? A Michael Jordan jersey or money to buy a Michael Jordan jersey.
Or a very specific, don't go off on your own. Follow this link and only get what's this item attached to it.
Well, when you have a very specific collection,
I know.
when you say like Michael Jordan jersey, everyone's just like, okay, the red 23 from the Bulls. It's like, yeah, I already have that one though.
Right.
I need the red one with the black stripe because in 92, there was somebody died and they needed to wear the memorial stripe. So I need that one. Don't give me just the regular red one. It's the minutia that makes a collection crazy.
Absolutely. It's what separates just a collector from a collector, all caps. And you need to be that specific because you have the grandmas who know you like baseball and then just buy you, random baseball stuff that you really don't want.
Right.
Yeah. So you just need to be very specific. Totally get it. Or just get it yourself and say, can you reimburse me?
Right. Yeah. So we are two very good people to talk about the Richard Davis episode. Rich is an incredible collector, and we recorded this interview last summer, and his collection has even grown since then. I mean, if you follow him on Twitter, and I hope that you guys do, he posts pictures all the time. There's the hashtag Solid Mail Day when somebody gets something that they ordered online or, some piece for their collection that they've been waiting on a long time, and it shows up and it's, okay, this was a Solid Mail Day.
Right.
Rich uses that hashtag 9 times a week. It's crazy. He's always adding new stuff, and his collection's already so amazing that you think the next piece he gets can't possibly top what he already has, and it does always.
Right.
So watching his collection grow over the past year has been really fun. But going back to what I was saying, we are two good people to talk about collections from that standpoint because we are collectors.
Well, there was one point further on into the interview where you made what I thought was the understatement of the entire interview when you said, I'm a collector too. I almost did a spit take, and good thing I wasn't on mic for that because that wouldn't have been pretty. But yeah.
Do you want to talk a little bit about your collections and what you like to go after?
I think a good starting place is kind of drawing parallels in what Rich's experience was, and you asked him, how did it start? And that's really the question you ask a collector, because every collector knows the first piece that started the madness. And I don't mean that in a mean way. We have this madness, and it becomes a passion. And there is an ebb and flow. There have been a few different collections, but I know my biggest collection is a Coca-Cola collection that I didn't even start and that I didn't even contribute to most of it. And yet here we are. It's been over 50 years. So you two are novices compared to, but...
Well, when you think about it in those terms, for 50 years, all you need is 3 or 4 pieces a year.
Right.
And you've got 200 pieces.
Right.
And there have been years where there were more than 3 or 4 pieces added.
Yeah, I'm going to say 200 is so far in my rearview mirror, I don't even...
Absolutely.
blew past that a long time ago.
But how did that collection start?
It actually started as an international Coke bottle collection. My parents were lucky enough to go to Spain in 1970, and they brought back a Spanish Coke bottle. And here we are with 50 years plus, and I'd say I have 1,000 items, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Hundreds and hundreds of items.
Easily hundreds. Yeah.
And granted, it's a different kind of collection in that there is no greater merchandising company in corporate America than Coca-Cola. So that's an easy get. But the difference is when I became an adult and was actively trying to grow my collection, my scope became I wanted to get original artifacts that were older items and talked about the history, or obscure things that really kind of show what kind of collector you are. And with Rich, when he talked about his 1980 Pawtucket pay stub, that's the item, you're going for the really obscure thing that really has a twist to it that brings it together and it's meaningful to you.
Right, and it sets it apart from this is something you can just type in Wade Boggs on Amazon.com or eBay.com and find a million things. Those types of pieces take connections and research and doing the work beforehand to even know that that's something that could theoretically exist in the first place to go after. Right. And I think for my Michael Jordan collection, I realized at a very early age, growing up in Chicago and seeing he's on TV twice every commercial break because he's selling Chevy cars and he's selling Gatorade and he's selling McDonald's and he's selling Hanes underwear and he's selling Rayovac batteries. He's just selling everything.
We did draw the line when you wanted a Chevy when you were before you had your license.
Who was going to drive you to the emergency room?
Yeah, that's true.
Am I going to drive it in your Jeep? No. But I realized so early on that you could not possibly have everything.
Right.
So you had to put a focus on your collection. And for something that's so grand as a Michael Jordan collection. So I focused on jerseys and cards. And when I was probably 11 or 12 years old and really trying to, I don't know how I had money at that time, but I did. Where I could,
it was all those birthdays where you said, don't get me anything, just give me cash so I can buy what I want. That started at an early age.
Yeah,
because...
and I was having like 6 or 7 birthdays a year. So
well, there was that.
It was great. But I had the money to go to card shops, and 1998 was Michael's last year as a Bull. People thought, this is the end of his career. So they were having all these retrospective card sets would come out that were,
right.
This set is limited to 50 cards, and this set is limited to 300 cards. But there were 12 different sets in 1998.
Exactly.
And so I was trying at first. I was like, I'm going to get them all. I can do it. Now's the time to do it, because if you get it on the secondary market, first of all, you're never going to be able to track them all down. And then you also are going to have to pay 2 or 3 times the price.
Right.
So yeah, you've got to put in the work to get them all now, but now's the time to do it. And I still couldn't even do it because there were just so many. And so at that point, I'm 12 years old and I'm like, I'm never going to have all the cards. So let's just pick out the ones that I want.
You should talk to Rich before you make a statement like that, but go ahead.
I think Rich would agree with me. He said in the interview, he's like, I'm still trying to catch up on 2017.
Yeah, that was, I duly noted that.
But I'm like, all right, I'm going to focus on the jerseys and focus on the specific cards that I want. So it's always been a goal to have a Michael Jordan rookie card. So a couple of years ago, I got one, but it took 25 years of actively searching for one before I found one that was in a grade that I wanted for a price that I could afford. And this past year, the cards have blown up where that card is worth 10 times what I paid for it already. Mm-hmm. But with my Alkaline Trio collection, on the other hand, they're kind of obscure enough. They're not like a mainstream success band. They have been on the radio and they do have a national and international presence, but it's not like there's a crazy amount of things to collect. So I was trying to go for, every variation of every record they ever did, mm-hmm. every poster they ever did, every t-shirt they ever did. Even that got to a point where it's I'm not going to get all the t-shirts because every time they go on tour, they've got 8 new shirts.
Right.
And they were in stores like Hot Topic where those shirts weren't even on the tours with them. It was just for retail sale. And there's 8 new ones of those every year. And mm-hmm. It's all right, well, I'm not even wearing them anymore. It was just for the collection purposes. All right, I'm out of t-shirts. I'm just going down to records and posters. And then when posters became a thing to collect, it was every single show had a poster
right.
now. And so there was a point probably in 2004 or so where I was 6 posters away from having every poster they were ever on. And then it just exploded. And
right.
I was so far beyond. And individually, they're relatively inexpensive to do. It's $30 or $40 a poster. But when you do 40 different posters a year, if you go on a tour,
yeah,
that becomes not sustainable. And again, with the space,
right? Even
if I had them all, which was the case, I had 60 posters. Where do I have space to frame and hang 60 posters? So you just have to pick and choose between what are you going after and then go after it. And that to me was what Rich's dilemma seemed to be from the outside, was that he was still just going after everything.
Right. He was all in from the get-go, and it
it's-
was all-inclusive.
And it's hard to keep up. I mean,
Right.
especially the way that collecting in memorabilia has gone over the past decade or so, or past 2 decades, I guess now. You just cannot physically have everything. You can't
Right.
keep up with it. And the companies are making it so even if you could afford it and you have the space for it, they limit things that you can't get them all anyways.
Right. They limit the things that do have special meaning or special importance, but then they also saturate. Let's talk about jerseys for a second. So I'm a Blackhawks fan, and so not that I necessarily collect Blackhawks things, but there are certain things that have meaning in Blackhawks world for me. But jerseys would be one thing, and all of a sudden they started having all these special days where, you know, this special game was going to have this jersey, and it dilutes.
Right.
Do you really need all those extra special issue jerseys? I don't know. I feel complete with what I have. And when those things happen, when all the merchandising happens around a special day to let's be camo or let's be pink or purple or let's be green or whatever, I feel it is just another money grab by whatever league is supporting that.
Absolutely. And, you know, Major League Baseball claims that the money they raise in the merchandising sales for specific days, so like the Armed Forces days and things like that, is going towards veterans programs and
Right.
things like that.
Good causes.
Or Mother's Day things are all in pink and they donate a portion of that to the Susan G. Komen Foundation. And same thing with the NFL. But those numbers have never been released.
Right.
Ever.
Right.
And people have asked, show me what you're donating.
Right.
And nobody responds. And it's like, okay, so A, you're either lying that the money's being donated in the first place, or B,
It's inconsequential.
yeah, you're donating such a small percentage that you know if that number gets released, you're going to look bad. Or C, the sales are so low, you can't justify doing this every year if those numbers get released, but you need to do it because you've established it and, you know, all your sponsors and, you know.
Right. I'm going to go with B. That's what I think.
I'm not sure. I'm curious to know what it's definitely B or C. I would be
Yeah.
shocked if they're not actually donating.
Right. That's an easy thing to do. And donating is just the action. It
Right.
doesn't speak at all to a percentage or anything.
Yeah. Why are we still doing this?
Yeah.
Because the other thing would be if they just use the same pink hat that they did last year, but they can't even do that because then they can't resell it. You know,
Right.
they need to sell the new one because
Right.
if you bought it last year, well, you're going to want this year's hat. At a certain point, there's not going to be a new pink thing you can do.
Yeah, it's enough already. It's meaningless.
Right.
And those things don't do anything for me. Unless it's the Blackhawks retro jersey day, then no. That's different. Rich talked about how he doesn't rotate his display. And that struck me right away because that's how I am too with the Coca-Cola collection, because there are so many small little items displayed on shelves, just like he has so many small items filling up every square inch of that space, that I don't want to move anything because I haven't dusted it in 12 years. You just can't. You can't go in there and clean the stuff off. You just have to kind of do what you can. But he talked about having 6 or 7 boxes in the closet that still are full of items that need to somehow be incorporated within his existing space. And I'm thinking, yep, that's I have that. And here's a note: if you collect Coca-Cola and you have cans, drain your cans because they eventually will leak, and you don't want that to happen. Take it from me. So I actually have had to go back and go into the shelves or whatever and salvage things and clean up and whatever. And you really have to rethink your space. It is so much easier, though, once you have your base collection on display to just incorporate. And it's amazing how someone walking into your collection room will say, you can't fit one more thing. And you're going, oh, yeah, I can.
I could fit 6 more things.
Watch this.
All right, Lori says she can fit 6 more things. Dan, can you fit 7? I could fit 7.
Yeah. But that's it. You asked him, how does he handle having his collection be inside his house, where to be able to share it with someone, he needs to invite them into the Boggs Tavern. That's how it is for you and I as well. And while it's fun to have that moment, a lot of times the people who are coming in, unless they're really nuts like we are, they just need this is a Coca-Cola collection. And you might show them one item and they're done.
Right.
And they're moving on. And that's okay, because not to make people get the madness. But to me, and I don't know if you do this, but there are many times over the course of the years where especially if you have redone or added in or whatever. I just want to sit in that space by myself because every single item that's on those shelves or on the walls or wherever they are, there's a story behind it.
Mm-hmm.
It's either, did I get it myself and it was a good get? Or did someone gift it to me? And that's usually, if you start out as a kid with your collections, a lot of times that's how it becomes, where family and friends are doing it for birthday and Christmas and Hanukkah and whatever. Then at a certain point, you take it over yourself. But people who know you have that collection, even though they may not have seen you in 5 or 10 years, they come across something in travels or whatever way they come across it, something that they found in the closet, and they want you to have it. And it just appears.
Right.
And that's meaningful too.
Well, that's, I think, the difference between a Coca-Cola collection and a Wade Boggs collection is anytime somebody travels anywhere in the world, they're going to find something Coke.
Absolutely.
And all they need to know is, oh yeah, Lori likes Coke.
Right.
And it cost them 58 cents to buy a can and bring it back. And that's not to diminish the act.
No.
But it's so much easier for somebody to travel overseas and find a Coca-Cola product or, whatever, a special edition something, and just send it, where somebody traveling to Italy for summer vacation probably isn't going to find a Wade Boggs something to bring back for Rich. So even though he does have those interactions with people on social media who are like, hey, I've had this since I was 11.
Yeah.
You deserve it. It belongs in a museum, as Harrison Ford would say. People have to actively make that decision for him as opposed to randomly coming across something that reminds them of you. Right.
It depends on the collection. But just in the span of the 50 years, my initial focus was going to be just international Coca-Cola bottles. So that started in the 70s. China wasn't open. Russia wasn't open. And this is 20 years before the Berlin Wall falls. And I was lucky enough to have 2 adult acquaintances who independently traveled and somehow got into these countries. And that was such a huge get. It's not a pair of shower slippers, but it was a big deal. And now, like you say, it's nothing because the world has become so much smaller. So yeah, the Coca-Cola collection is an easier get overall than the Wade Boggs or something that specific.
But I think that's why you changed your focus onto, you're not even going after the stuff that's being put out these days.
Right. I very rarely buy anything for myself. Very rarely now.
But when you do, or if you're looking, like when we go to antique stores, if you see an old Coke tray or an old bottle from the 1800s that's got the old style.
Yes, those things really do still set.
Yeah, and whether you get them or not, you notice them and you're like, okay, is this a good price on it? You still know what you're looking for.
Right. And another thing, when you were asking how many items does he have and does he have a list of everything? And I would ask you that too. Do you have a list of everything? And your answer would be?
For my vinyl records, I do, because like every time an album comes out, if it's a new album, they'll press it on 8 different colors. And so the red copies, there's only 250, and the black copies, there's 1,000, and then half red, half black, there's 500, and clear with red and black splatters,
Right.
So yeah, I have that down to a line itemized list because you need to know which ones you have and which ones you don't, so you don't rebuy twice. But the same thing then, let's say an album came out in 2001 and they repress it. Well, if it came out in 2001, they only pressed it on black originally, but now when they repress it and the game has changed,
right,
now they do a bunch of different colors. So like, yeah, for that collection, I do have a line itemized list, so I know exactly what I have. But for the Michael Jordan jerseys, I don't have a list because I just know what I have.
Exactly.
And there's 150 pieces in it.
Right.
So that's what you were saying before. Like if grandma asks you, what do you want for your birthday? You can't just say a Michael Jordan jersey because it's such a specific jersey.
Right.
She couldn't even find it if she was looking for it.
Right.
I'm looking for it and I can't find
right.
it. But as a collector, I know my collection so well, I don't need that list typed out.
Exactly. And that's where I was going with that. I think a super collector, you start out where you're keeping an inventory or whatever, and at a certain point, that just becomes another thing that's taking over your life, and you step away because you really do know. At that point, you are trying to find unique things, so it's not like you have all these duplicates or whatever.
Right.
Other than the 800 cards or whatever. But
that's a good way to look at it, though. Like, when you're collecting cards, all right, you've got the base set covered.
Right.
You don't even need to look for a regular 1983 Topps anymore. You know you got it. Mm-hmm. You're looking for the 1999 limited to 12 with a game-worn jersey piece in it.
Right.
You know you don't have that one.
Right.
So when grandma asks, Rich, what do you want for your birthday? You can't say a Wade Boggs card.
Right.
Because she's going to get one that you already have.
Yeah.
And the ones that you don't have, she's not going to know where to look.
So it becomes a personal collection at that point. And
Right.
it's you and your collection. And someone like the woman who's up for sainthood, Mrs. Davis, someone who loves you like that person knows that they need to be specific, and they might be able to get something really high on your list. But otherwise, no, it's just you and the collection and your other fellow super collectors who might have your wish list too.
And that's a game that I've played with my Alkaline Trio collection. Is I have purposely never put my list online anywhere.
Right.
Because there are so few people going for the same pieces that we're trying to collect.
Right.
I know that if I have a list out there that says I only need 5 pieces before I have everything, if there's another collector who's missing 30 pieces out of 200, so 30 is still a very small amount to be missing. But if he's missing 30 and I'm missing 5, and the 5 I'm missing overlap with some of the ones he is, of course he's going to try and go after those first, because he knows that they come up so infrequently. If it comes up, I'm going to win it because I want 4 missing instead of 5. So it's I don't want him knowing
it's me or him.
Right.
Yeah.
Some of these pieces I've been actively looking for 22 years and have never once seen it come up. So when it comes up, you're damn right I'm going to win that thing,
Right.
And so I don't want to have that competition where they know, like, okay, I really need to go hard after this piece because this is the one time it's come up in 20 years. And if I lose it today, I'll never see it ever again. So I got to go hard on it. And it seems like Rich and his Boggs Trust have a different relationship than the Alkaline Trio collectors, where, like, yeah, we're all friends with each other. And if a record comes up that I already have, I'll happily send a message to everybody else and be like, hey, this is available. But they don't know what I'm looking for. They all know that I have a really good collection. I think they all kind of recognize that I probably have the best collection in the world. But there's no way for them to really quantify that because I have never once posted pictures or said, hey, I just got this in the mail today. I don't play that game. Like, I actively do not do it.
Right. So let's see. So there might be an AT trust out there that has X number of people, and then there's you. And they think you're part of that.
Yeah, I'm part of the distrust.
Right.
You were talking about, you haven't dusted in 12 years, and I know that was kind of a joke, but that's part of a big collection like this too, is that it's hard work just to keep it up.
Right.
And I think there's a difference between people who have an accumulation of items and people who have a collection. I kind of touched on this in an interview with somebody saying, like, oh yeah, I collect Beanie Babies. It's like, nah,
right.
You've got a bunch of them, but you don't have a collection. Like, Rich's basement is a collection.
Right.
It's curated.
Right.
Everything is placed in a specific place for a reason and has a story. It wasn't just, oh yeah, I saw that at Target the other day.
Right.
And it kind of fits what I go after. It's like, no, technically, is it a collection? Yes. But it's not at that same level, and it doesn't take the same discipline and care.
Yeah, and you asked if his collection had ever become a burden or an obligation. That is a great question, because at different points of your life, and again, I'm longer into this than either of you, but there are different points of your life where you almost need to step back. Number one is normally financial. Number two is space. We are lucky. Dad always felt, what's the point of having a collection if you have no place to display it? And when you hear someone say that, that light bulb goes off, and that is the big difference. Do you want everything in baker's boxes? No. You can't even enjoy it. That was an enlightening philosophy that happened many, many years ago. But that's what makes Rich's Tavern just such an amazing spot, because he does have the space and he has a family that supports that.
Right.
Because most of us don't live in a vacuum. So if you do live by yourself, that's fine, but you still have to have the space in your living space to dedicate to your collection. And it can become a burden. It can become a burden of tracking things down, of maintaining the inventory, like we said, and that kind of goes by the wayside at a certain point.
Well, I asked that question because as an Alkaline Trio collector, they've been a band since 1996. I haven't loved an album that they came out with since 2005. So that's longer than I've liked them. I haven't really liked them.
Ouch.
Yeah. And like I've enjoyed certain songs on albums every single time, and we'll still go see them live if it fits my schedule. But 15 years ago, I threw my schedule to the wind.
Right.
It was like, I will drive states away to go watch you play multiple days in a row because I love you that. Right.
Yeah,
And
I know.
I'm
It's
not
a passion.
that way anymore.
Right.
But since I have the best collection in the world, every time a new album comes out, I have to buy all 8 copies of it because, well, what's the point in this whole collection if I'm going to stop now?
Right.
And I think the way I worded that question was, or just talked about how it's out of obligation, not out of passion or love anymore.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it is. I don't love any album they've come out with recently enough to buy it 8 times.
Right.
But it doesn't make sense.
You need it.
Right. And the other thing is, like, probably 10 years ago, I was like, what am I doing here? Do I need every single record? And so then I stopped for a little bit. And then 2 years later, you realize, yeah, you do need them all. And now I'm like, crap. Now I need to go find them on the secondary market. And you're paying a premium price
Right.
if you can even track it down.
Right.
And so it's just like, it's easier to buy everything as it comes out and hate every minute of it than to quit for a couple years, think you're done with it, and then realize you're not done with this.
For me, even though I might step away for a long time and something spurs coming in, whether it might be going on a hunt with you for something and coming across either a Coca-Cola thing or a Kennedy thing or whatever, the gift of having a collection that you've had for so long is when you find something new, it is new to you and it helps you rekindle your love affair with your collection. And again, that just happened to me within the past few months. And so it's very, there's a lot of joy in that. Sometimes I'll look at it and I'll be like, I just want to find somebody to give the whole thing to. There are parts of the collection that, is it something or is it nothing? There's a lot of something there. But then there's a lot of stuff that is just Coca-Cola merchandising to sell Coca-Cola stuff. But every once in a while you get that flash of, yeah, this is really cool and I really love this piece. And if I had to pick 10 pieces and reclaim that room, what would I pick? It's fun to think about what those pieces mean to you, how you got them, and what they are.
And I think the difference between a Coca-Cola or a Kennedy collection and a Wade Boggs collection or an Alkaline Trio collection is there's nobody to meet with a Coca-Cola collection. There's no end goal where you're like, I met Roger Coca-Cola. Right. That guy doesn't exist. So to have that personal connection that Rich has with Wade Boggs, they say you don't want to meet your heroes. Well, we talked about that is, were you nervous the first time you met him that you've been collecting this guy for decades? What if he turns out to not be a good guy? I've been in that situation where you put all this time and money and energy and everything into collecting somebody or supporting them, and then you meet them and it's like, not the best person. Right. Or they do something down the road where you're like, ugh. Right. Thankfully with Alkaline Trio, they are genuinely good people. And that has helped me want to collect them. And I know that when I buy 8 copies of a record I don't care about, at least I'm still supporting them. So that, makes me feel better about it. But with Rich, I'm sure it was a huge sigh of relief when he met him. Right. And he was like, okay, I can still feel good about the decades I've spent collecting and supporting this guy. And then to take it one step further and turn that into a relationship where now you're able to add pieces to the collection because you're friends with the guy. Yeah. That is really cool. It's awesome. So you can verify the authenticity. Well, not only verifying the authenticity, because that's something too, the last thing I do before I go to bed every night is search Michael Jordan jerseys on eBay and search Alkaline Trio stuff on eBay. And then I turn my phone off and go to bed. But I can swipe through so fast. Right. Where I was on tour one time with a band, so we're sleeping on the floor next to each other, and the person was like, how are you even seeing what you're not even, you can't possibly be looking at this quick. And I'm like, no, I just know all the pieces so well that I can tell A, what I already have, and B, if it's something I don't have and I'm looking for, I can tell if it's a fake because I've seen these 1,000 times. So when you say like, oh, it's nice to be friends with them for the authenticity, like I don't need to be friends with Michael Jordan to know what a fake jersey looks like. Right. But it's having the access to some of these individual pieces where like Wade gave him the jersey that he wore in a celebrity game one time and things like that. Yeah, but you have to admit the one contact about the All-Star bat, game bat. Yeah. Yeah. No, I wouldn't hit it on, my sweet spot isn't going to be over there on the logo. Yeah, that was cool. Yeah, that's pretty cool. And that's what I meant. Yeah. Just even having that contact, that back and forth relationship on that speaks volumes about just not being your average fan, your average collector. That's showing a sign of respect both ways. Right. But what does that also tell you about Wade? You don't just get 3,000 hits. Like he broke it down into a science and was like, this is how I'm going to hold the bat every time for my entire career. And I will know if I look at a bat in 2020 from 31 years ago, that's not a bat that I hit with because that mark is on the wrong side of the bat. Right. Like he was a machine. He figured out the science of it. Right. And there are so few people who take that approach. It's no wonder that he got all the hits that he did and, has the Hall of Fame plaque and all the accolades and achievements that he had over the years.
Well, I guess the moral of the story for their relationship is when Rich told the story of Wade's niece saying, if Wade ever goes missing, we know the first place to look is in Rich's house.
Yeah. That's always the joke when people come to my house and I show them, the Alkaline Trail room or the Michael Jordan stuff. And I'll be like, oh, and check this out. They always are like, oh, is it Matt Skiba's head? It's like, no, because...
It isn't, is it?
No, not yet. But if I were a Ted Williams collector, I'll tell you what I'd go for.
God.
1 out of 1. It's the ultimate piece. But it's fun to get new pieces. And Rich also has a Star Wars collection and a Jean-Claude Van Damme collection. I don't really know too many people who collect one thing and that's it.
Right.
Obviously, they've got one main collection normally. But there's just something about the mentality and the brain makeup of somebody who wants to collect things that's just what you do. It started at a very early age for me. I collected rocks. And then I collected pencils, and then I collected Legos.
You start out with the basics.
Right. You're a child with no money.
Right. Right.
Yeah, it's got to be just things that don't cost anything. Then it went to Legos and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. But pretty quickly on, compared to at least my friends, it went to Michael Jordan. I think I advanced to adult collecting and just adult interests earlier than most of my friends. Most of my friends were into Power Rangers. I was never once into Power Rangers.
Right.
It was always like, what are you watching at night? Sports Center.
Right.
From a very early age compared to my peers.
It is a personality trait to have that collecting chip within you. And you don't just have one collection. I 100% agree with that. I was a Girl Scout a lifetime ago. And I love to do things to get badges. It's a running joke now. But when I actually was a Girl Scout, I only earned 3 badges.
What were they?
One was collector. And... there you go. So I was 10, 11.
What were you collecting then? Do you remember?
I don't know. I have to look up and see what kind of stuff I came up with.
Girl Scout badges. It was a low threshold.
Fail. Different goofy things that I think one of the things I collected when I was a kid was when you had gumball machines and you would put in a quarter and you'd get like the big plastic things that would drop out that maybe had an object in them. I think they called them go-go rings. They were like a bubble of melamine at the top of the ring, and they'd be all different colors. Or super balls, which would be like real bouncy. Those were a big thing. So I had some of those. If I had 20, that was a big collection to me. It kind of was like your pencils and your rocks kind of thing. But I always loved keeping things. And
I think you're born with that. I think that was my point about rocks and pencils is that I didn't turn 16 and was like, I think I'm going to start collecting. It's like, no, from day one.
Right.
It's just in your brain. I like this rock, and here's another one. Well, now I've got a collection going.
Right. And I think it is to the individual because my brother and sister, they were not that way growing up.
Yeah.
But I was. So it's definitely a personality trait that is with you your whole life, and that's what it is.
And I think having the multiple collections is a nice release because it allows you to take a step back from one collection at a time. Like for the Michael Jordan stuff, there were spurts where a new release didn't really come out. They come out with new shoes every year, but for a long time when the retro jerseys hadn't really taken flight like it has, or he was under the Nike contract, so they wouldn't let Mitchell and Ness do certain things because they owned his rights or whatever the case may be. There were a couple of years where I didn't buy anything Michael Jordan because there wasn't really anything, unless I wanted to spend $20,000 on a game used jersey, there was nothing to buy. So you just take that time and focus on the other collections.
Right.
But then when you do find another piece for the Michael Jordan thing, it really rekindles it. And you feel energized and you're reminded of this is why I loved him so much in the first place.
Exactly.
I love having the different collections to bounce around between because it always feels fresh. And it's not like I ever consciously made a decision like, I'm going to stop collecting Alkaline Trio for a couple months here. It's just like, you ebb and flow and it goes how it goes. But then when it gets picked up again, you're like, oh yeah, I remember why I love this. Yeah,
exactly.
Or this collection or whatever it was.
I couldn't agree more. That is the way it has happened for me, and it's consistent that way over the years. So happy collecting.
If you were going to collect one baseball player, not to create an entire basement around him, but who would you go after?
Thurman Munson.
Interesting. You've always been into catchers.
I've always been into catchers.
Who was the first catcher? Was it Randy Hundley?
Yes, it was.
And then
Ed Herman, White Sox, spring training in 1973, maybe. Went down to spring training with Sarasota with my mom and dad, and Ed Herman was the catcher. I might be off on the year, but it was in the early 70s because I was in high school. Just have always loved the catcher and the gear and standing up and having the opposite view of the field where they can take the measure of the field and figure out what needs to happen and that feeling of being in control. Even though you think of the pitcher as being the control position in a lot of ways, he's got his back to everybody. The catcher is seeing everything. I don't know what it is, but standing up from that crouched position, calling the game with the pitches depending on the level of expertise of the catcher. So I would say Randy Hundley, then Ed Herman was just kind of a flash in the pan, and then Thurman Munson. Carlton Fisk I liked even before he became a White Sox player. But then A.J. Pierzynski.
Yes.
Is that who you thought I was going to say for the collection?
Yeah, probably. I would have guessed either him or Randy Hundley because it's normally your first love is who you want to collect.
Yeah, but there was always something about Thurman Munson and the tragedy of his, and he was such a leader. I don't think of Randy Hundley as being a leader of the 1968-69 Cubs teams. You know, he was a component of it, but I don't see him in a leadership position. Ed Herman, I have no idea. But Thurman Munson was a leader on that team, and he was such a strong person off the field that there was a lot of respect there. And then when he died tragically, that always adds another layer. So it would be him.
Interesting.
And then AJ would be a close second. He was just such a vibrant player to watch. You never knew what was going to happen when he was on the field.
Right.
And I love that.
He was one of those players, you know, like Dennis Rodman, where if he's on the team you're playing, you hate his guts.
Exactly.
And when he's on the team that you're rooting for, you hate his guts, but you like what he does.
Right. And as Chicagoans, we went through both of them with that. A lifetime ago when the White Sox won the World Series, you know, how many of the highlight reel plays that were controversial and key involved AJ.
Yeah,
so,
he's one of those guys who knows the rule book to a T and uses every single comma to know where, you know,
absolutely
how he can take advantage of things. And I went to Southern Illinois University for radio and television broadcasting, and one summer I had an internship covering the Cubs and the White Sox, and it was the summer of 2008. And both the Cubs and the Sox did really well that year. So it was a fun summer being in the locker room before and after games and interviewing players. And AJ was one of the very few people on either team who took my questions seriously and answered them thoughtfully and paid me the respect that a reporter deserved. And a lot of the other players were just like, it's just a college kid. Like, it's not like I had a different press pass. My press pass was the exact same as Bruce Levine's or anybody else, but you can tell, I mean, it's a kid. So it made a big difference when somebody who had the respect of the locker room and the respect of the other reporters would take me seriously. You know, he did it. Jim Tomei did it. Gavin Floyd was a pitcher on the White Sox who was a very young pitcher at the time and had a great season. I think he won 17 games that year. And AJ said, when you win your 13th game, I'm shaving your head. And he was a kid who, like, there was no chance he was going to win 13 games. And sure enough, he did. And went on to win 17, I think is the number.
The last four, a little light on the top.
But those were the three guys, and nobody really on the Cubs treated me that way. But those three White Sox players went out of their way to answer respectfully and thoughtfully and didn't just give me, you know, one-word garbage answers, because I thought I was asking intelligent questions too. It wasn't just like there was one update reporter for 670 at the time. Both teams, the Cubs and the White Sox, I went to 71 games that summer. I think the combined record was something like 48-23, if not better. Like, both teams were just winning like crazy that summer, especially at home. And the one update guy literally asked the same question every single day. So, Jermaine Dye, what did it feel like to win in this home crowd?
Yeah.
You know, we're 98 games into a season.
Right.
And at one point, one of the players just looked at him and said, why don't you use the audio I gave you yesterday?
Right.
I wasn't asking questions like that.
No, I knew you back then.
Right.
No, seriously. And you played at a nice level and got to know the rules of the game. And then you had your own sports radio show for 8 years. So, yeah, you're not just asking green questions, and you're kind of a smart guy. So, yes, the questions were a different caliber. it was nice to see those three get that.
Mm-hmm. I wish that more reporters asked real questions instead of just digging for sound bites.
Right.
Because I don't care what it feels like to win in front of this home crowd 39 days in a row.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, what do you want me to say?
Right.
It felt great. Next question. This is your chance to ask somebody, like, what's your approach that you're taking at the plate? When you're hitting 400 over the past 22 games, are you thinking differently, or are you like, does this reinforce all the practice that you've been doing all year, or are you just getting really lucky over the, you know, like, there are questions you could ask that are more interesting and that give an insight to the player and the process.
So you were trying to get them to go off the Bull Durham
Right.
reel.
Yeah. The good Lord willing, things will work out.
Right.
As much as people hated AJ Przinsky, he'll always be cool in my book because he was cool in my book.
Yeah. Every generation and every team, I guess, has that one player who sparks something and makes that connection. And for me, it was him. And when he left the White Sox, really the team kind of lost meaning for me for a long time. And especially, I think Flowers came in right after him, and it was like, oh, come on. You know, it was going from a high to a low. And even when your favorite player is at the end of their stardom, they still have that spark. It's innate. Even if they're not playing at a certain level, they're still causing action on the field. And that was AJ's thing. He was a magnet for things to happen around him. And when you lose that, you know, to me, that's when he would be on the field, that's who I'd be watching. It wouldn't matter if he was behind the plate or if he was on base or if he was the recipient of a punch or whatever. You know, you just wanted to see where was he and what was going to happen because you knew something would.
Right. Anything else about Rich or about Wade Boggs or about collecting in general?
I enjoyed listening to Rich talk about his collection because it was uncanny how many parallels there were in his philosophy, the comments he made where I'm thinking, yep. And he wasn't related to me, so I really could put some power behind his power behind his words. Like, this is an independent situation, but look how many parallels there are. So it was great.
Well, I think that's the thing about collecting is that as a collector, it's fun to see other people's collections because you're going after different things for different reasons, but the overarching theme is identical.
Right.
And why you collect and the ways that you go about doing it. If I met another Michael Jordan collector, they're not going to have the same collection as I am.
Right.
But we're probably going to have a few mutual friends. We're probably going to have a few mutual contacts in terms of like how we get these things. And it's cool to talk to somebody who has a completely different collection and still see like, oh yeah, you do the same stuff I do.
Right.
And try and build the same connections and things like I do. So it was interesting. And I think everybody kind of starts with baseball cards collecting as a kid. And it's cool to see like what the ultimate end goal could be. Rich took it to a crazy degree, but that's what it could be. Everybody has that same origin story of like, yeah, I used to collect cards as a kid. You know, I have a couple packs. And then there's guys like me and guys like Rich who 35 years later or whatever the case may be, it's like, this is what it could have been.
Right. There was one other thing I did want to say about Rich when he was talking about once he got that first set and Wade Boggs' card was on the top and it was a special one. And then he follows his career. And how does he follow the career? Through box scores.
Right.
As a 10-year-old.
Boggs scores.
Nice. It was mind-boggling.
Yeah, he didn't catch that.
That was really good. I had to do the bow. But, you know, again, just think about it, of how...
The different era.
Right.
Yeah.
And so then maybe catching him in a random game of the week at that point. But it takes a World Series where he can really watch him play day after day.
Out, yeah.
Right. And see the talent that Wade Boggs was. But yeah, just hearing him say, you know, he followed him on the box scores, and that's how his respect and admiration for Wade Boggs got sealed, by reading the box scores.
Yeah, and same thing with getting the Beckett magazines.
Right.
That was another time and place thing where, like, I think Beckett still has a magazine. I'm not even sure if they do or not. But there's really no reason for it anymore.
Right.
The card community and the card collectors, the prices are set on eBay and prices are set on other platforms that are digital. And by the time a magazine prints, those prices are out of date.
Right.
You know, they used to print a book every year. And it's like, this is the price. And it would go back to the early days of, you know, the 1920s or whatever, cards back then. And there's just so many cards, you can't even physically print them anymore.
Right.
So even that little comment of like, yeah, I used to get the 2 issues that he was on the cover of.
Yeah.
You couldn't even do that today with a player that you're following because it's those same outlets don't exist.
Right.
And that's a shame to see. You know, I wonder how much longer Sports Illustrated is going to be a thing that they're physically
Well,
printing.
once a year, they'll probably still be a thing.
I don't know. They've got the internet for that too.
Yeah.
These companies are being bought by, you know, the hedge fund capitalists and gutting the staff. And, you know, it's happening with newspapers and magazines all over the country.
Right.
And it has happened with Sports Illustrated where like whoever owns them now is really thinning out the staff and the budget and everything like that. So I wouldn't be shocked to see Sports Illustrated not be a physical product at sometime in the next decade. And that's sad.
So you're saying we have the first issue of Sports Illustrated somewhere in a collection among our family. We should be making a space for the last issue of Sports Illustrated?
Yeah. I mean, at some point it's going to happen. You know, nobody thought that Look magazine was going to stop being printed.
Right.
Nobody thought that Saturday Evening Post was going to stop being printed, but eventually it does. You know, that's how stuff works. Is it though?
Yeah, because you have everything at your fingertips. So
until that website decides to stop existing, and then you've lost.
Well, no, I was going to say Google and just being able to pull up anything, any random fact that you're trying to check.
That's something that my friend David is writing about, where he's a music journalist, and for years the website MySpace is where bands would go and post their music, and they thought, okay, it's going to be up here forever, until it wasn't. And the servers got deleted, or, you know, like the website stopped existing. And it was at a time when people weren't printing digital media.
Yeah.
You know, records were too expensive, or people weren't really doing it. And CDs, it's like, all right, well, if you're not touring or selling things, it doesn't make sense to print 1,000 CDs. So here, I'll just give you the digital files and load them up to my website that I don't even own. It's just your Facebook profile. So if Facebook shuts down tomorrow, you lost all of your photo albums that you've uploaded over these years, if they're not backed up somewhere. And so that's what David's writing about, is all this stuff is going to be completely lost to the sands of time, because nobody's sitting there with the foresight of, oh, we should be backing up these servers.
Right.
So
I didn't even think about that.
That's what I meant with Sports Illustrated, you know, like even Google. Yeah, Google might exist.
Right.
But whatever it's taking you to, the search results,
Yeah.
if that website stops existing, then all that media is gone.
Yeah.
So, yeah, physical media is still important.
Preaching to the choir, my friend. Yeah.
All right, well, thanks for listening to this podcast on the website. That
It was fun. It was good.
Thanks, Mom.
Thanks, Dan.
Okay, so that's it. In the introduction of this episode, I mentioned a trivia question you can answer to win something. And here's how you can do that. First, make sure you're following us on Twitter at Shoeless Podcast. Then, find the pinned tweet at the top of our profile with the link to the Richard Davis episode, which asks this episode's trivia question. The answer to the trivia question was somewhere in this episode you just finished listening to. Retweet that tweet along with your answer, and we'll announce the winner on the next episode of the podcast. You don't have to be first, you just have to be right, but make sure you're following us. We'll pick one person who answered correctly, and they'll win something that might make Richard a little upset. A PSA 8 graded near mint copy of Wade Boggs' 1983 Topps rookie card. Now that's one less card that Richard will be able to acquire on his quest for 1,000 of them, so sorry about that, buddy. But whoever wins this will have a nice start to their own Wade Boggs collection. Richard and I spent most of the interview talking about his collection, and not a whole lot of time talking about just how great Wade Boggs actually was. So let me do that now, because Wade Boggs was truly great. Wade spent 18 seasons as a big leaguer, mostly with the Boston Red Sox, but he played for the Yankees from 1993 to 1997 and finished his career with the Tampa Bay Devil Rays in 1998 and 1999. And yes, they were still the Devil Rays back then, not the Rays. He was the 23rd player to record 3,000 hits, and was the first to do so, with his 3,000th hit being a home run. His .328 career batting average is good enough for 33rd best in the history of baseball, but it's the highest of any living player. He batted over .350 5 times in his career, and just barely missed hitting that mark in his rookie season when he batted .349. During his career, Wade was an 8-time Silver Slugger Award winner, a 5-time batting champion, and a 2-time Gold Glove Award winner. Of his 5 batting titles, 4 of them were consecutive, from 1985 through 1988. Only Ty Cobb, Rogers Hornsby, Rod Carew, and Tony Gwynn also have stretches of 4 or more consecutive batting titles in baseball history. The season Wade had in 1985 was really one for the ages. He led the majors with 758 plate appearances, 240 hits, a .368 batting average, and a .450 on-base percentage. He also had 42 doubles, 78 RBI, 96 walks, and 107 runs scored. He collected 312 total bases that year, which was the first of 2 seasons in his career with over 300 total bases. Now, what's really impressive about that is that he only hit 3 triples and 8 home runs that entire season, and still had over 300 total bases. Unfortunately, Wade also recorded his second most strikeouts at the plate in a season that year, which was pretty disappointing, I would imagine. In 161 games and 758 plate appearances, he struck out 61 times. 61. I mean, guys have 61 strikeouts every 2 months, but Wade was just locked in on another level that year. Wade made his first ever All-Star game and finished 4th in MVP voting. Wade was actually selected to 12 straight All-Star games as a third baseman, starting that year in 1985. Only Brooks Robinson and George Brett had longer streaks at the position. He hit only 118 home runs in his career, which makes the fact that he led the league in intentional walks 6 times that much crazier. That's how good of a hitter he was. He had 7 consecutive seasons with 200 or more hits, 8 seasons with 40 or more doubles, and led the majors in on-base percentage 6 times. He recorded 3 5-hit games and 59 4-hit games in his career. In 1997, the Sporting News put him on their list of the 100 greatest baseball players. He had not yet recorded his 3,000th career hit at the time. Wade was elected to the Red Sox Hall of Fame in 2004 and was a first ballot inductee into the National Baseball Hall of Fame in 2005 with 91.9% of the vote. His number 26 was retired by Boston in 2016, and his number 12 was retired by Tampa Bay in 2000. We talk a lot about ball players and their superstitions on this podcast, and Wade definitely had his quirks. He ate chicken before every game, so Jim Rice once called him Chicken Man, and the name stuck. Today, you can follow Wade on Twitter at ChickenMan3010, which is the number of hits he collected in his career, 3,010. In addition to his consistent pregame meal, Wade woke up at the same time every day and always ran sprints at 7:17 p.m. His route to and from his position in the field beat a path to the home dugout. He drew the Hebrew word for life in the batter's box before each at-bat, even though he's not Jewish. He once broke out of a slump on a day when Fenway Park public address announcer Sherm Feller forgot to announce his number, so for the rest of his Red Sox career, Wade asked Feller not to say his uniform number when he introduced him. It's not hard to imagine why Wade was named one of the top 10 most superstitious athletes by Men's Fitness. But hey, whatever works. Wade also has the neat distinction of playing in the longest game in professional baseball history in 1981 as a member of the Pawtucket Red Sox. The game lasted 33 innings over 8 hours and 25 minutes at McCoy Stadium in Pawtucket, Rhode Island. The game began on Saturday, April 18, 1981 at 8:25 p.m. after a delay of around 30 minutes due to problems with the stadium lights, with an estimated 1,740 people in attendance. It continued throughout the night and into Easter morning. Although most leagues had a curfew rule that would have suspended the game, the rulebook of home plate umpire Dennis Craig did not contain one. The Paw Sox were losing to Cal Ripken Jr. and the Rochester Red Wings 1-0 heading into the bottom of the ninth. After Pawtucket's Russ Larrabee hit a sacrifice fly which drove in Chico Walker in the bottom of the ninth inning and tied the game at 1, the teams continued playing. Several times, a team would come close to victory before the circumstances changed. When Wade Boggs drove in the tying run in the bottom of the 21st inning after a Rochester run in the top half of the inning, even the Pawtucket players groaned. Wade recalled, quote, "I didn't know if the guys on the team wanted to hug me or slug me." The weather was so cold.
How cold was it?
The weather was so cold that the players burned broken bats in the stadium's wooden benches to warm themselves, and the clubhouses ran out of food. The wind blew into the infield, making hits difficult. Pawtucket's Dave Koza, who batted in front of Wade in the batting order, had 5 hits in the game, the most of any player, including the game winner. Koza later said that without the wind, his team would have won in 9 innings, with 4 or 5 shots that would have been out of the park. Sam Bowen hit a fly ball to center that reportedly left the field, before the wind blew it back to Rochester outfielder Dallas Williams. Williams, by the way, went 0 for 13 in 15 plate appearances that game. But there was futility all around, as you can imagine a 33-inning game with a final score of 3-2 might have had. Between the two teams, 53 runners were left on base, 30 by Rochester and 23 by Pawtucket. Between the two teams, pitchers faced a total of 246 batters and threw a total of 882 pitches. Russ Larrabee of the Paw Sox went 0 for 11 with the sacrifice fly, striking out 7 times. He was the first player in professional baseball history to surpass the titanium sombrero level, which is when a player strikes out 6 times in a single game. By 4 a.m., the players were delirious from exhaustion. Rochester's Dave Huppert caught the first 31 innings before being replaced, and Jim Umbarger pitched 10 scoreless innings in relief, striking out 9 and only giving up 4 hits. The president of the league, Harold Cooper, was finally reached on the phone by Pawtucket publicity manager Mike Tamburo sometime after 3 a.m. The horrified Cooper ordered that play stop at the end of the current inning. Finally, at 4:07 a.m., at the end of the 32nd inning and more than 8 hours after it began, the game was stopped. There were 19 fans left in the seats, all of whom received season or lifetime passes to McCoy Stadium. As the players went home to rest before returning at 11 a.m. for an afternoon game that Sunday, they saw people going to Easter sunrise service. When Wade Boggs' father complimented him for getting 4 hits in the game, Wade shyly admitted that he had 12 at-bats. Play resumed on the evening of Tuesday, June 23rd, the next time the Red Wings were in town more than 2 months later. A sellout crowd of 5,746 fans and 140 reporters from around the world were present, partly because the major leagues were on strike at the time. The Pawtucket and Rochester players were offered a chance to resume the game at Fenway Park, but voted against that to avoid crossing the picket line. On the evening the game resumed, it took just 1 inning and 18 minutes to finish, with Dave Koza driving in the winning run in the bottom of the 33rd. The losing pitcher was Steve Grilly, who had joined Rochester in the interim since the game's suspension. How often does that happen? A pitcher loses a game for a team that he wasn't even on when the game started. Cal Ripken Jr. went 2 for 13 on the night, playing third base for Rochester. He would make his major league debut a couple months later, won the American League Rookie of the Year in 1982, and then had a Hall of Fame career. Wade Boggs went 4 for 12 with a double and an RBI, playing third base for Pawtucket. He would make it to the majors starting in April of 1982. The game set more than a dozen records, and a total of 27 future and former major leaguers played in it. Check out the liner notes on the website, where I put up the box score for that game, and take a look at some of the names on the rosters that day for both teams. It's a fun trip down memory lane. We've actually gotten some great feedback about our new website, which you can find at www.shoelesspodcast.com. You all still seem to love the liner notes, and hopefully the expanded layout of the new website makes it easier for you to go back and check out past episodes. If you'd like to support the show, you'll notice that we have a donate button in the top right corner. That button will take you straight to a PayPal page where you can donate as much or as little as you'd like. Those donations will help cover the cost of hosting the website, distributing the podcast, and paying for the giveaways we do every episode. If everybody listening to this episode right now just sent $1, it would be enough money to host the podcast and the website for 2 full years. It might not seem like a lot to you, but every dollar adds up and allows me to continue putting out content like this for you to enjoy. If you have questions about my baseball history or about anything else, you can reach out on social media, submit something through the contact form on our website, or email me at shoelespodcast@gmail.com, and I'll try to answer them in the next episode. If you want to send in video or audio recordings of your questions so I can play them on the show, that's cool too. If you have ideas for guests you'd like us to talk to on the podcast, send us your list. If you know current or former baseball players, managers, broadcasters, journalists, or if you are one, well, let's talk. A lot of you have liked and subscribed to My Baseball History, and we are so thankful for that. Some of you have even rated and reviewed the show, like Clark Cochran, who had this to say after listening to our Bobby Richardson episode. I'm not a podcast guy and was surprised to see the length of this when I started to listen. That said, I couldn't stop until I finished. I applaud your preparation and excellent construction of the questions you asked. I'm almost 72 and was one of many Yankees fans growing up. I can tell I would enjoy talking baseball with you. Keep up the great work. You know, these types of messages mean so much to me. This podcast is a labor of love, but man, I love it. We posted our first episode a year ago, and since then we've had thousands of listeners from 35 different countries all over the world. And that is so wild to me. It's been incredible to watch our numbers grow, and I can't wait to see what the future holds and who I'm able to speak with for the podcast, purely thanks to the power of social media. With that in mind, it's a huge help when you guys rate and review the show on whatever platform you choose to listen. 5-star ratings help our podcast get shown on more people's suggested podcast pages, which means more people will hear our show. It just takes a couple seconds of your time, but it really helps us a lot. And of course, liking us on social media, interacting with our posts, and sharing things with your friends is great too. No matter how you choose to support us, even if it's just by listening, we appreciate you being here. Until next time, I'm Dan Wallach, and this is My Baseball History.